Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Here.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin. Councilor Armin Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for retired Lowell Police Officer James Safaris. For 53 years, he was the loving husband of Marilyn until her death in 1999. The Safaris family were my neighbors on Royal Street for many years, and I watched proudly as their 3 children, Peter, Elizabeth, and Angela, grew up to be upstanding citizens. Mr. Safaris served as a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps 4th Division during World War II until his honorable discharge in 1945. His service included the Tinian, Saipan, and Iwo Jima campaigns. He received the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star for his heroic actions on the Isle of Iwo Jima. He was a member of the Hellenic Orthodox Church of the Holy Trinity, past president of the local AFIPA organization, and a proud member of the Greek American Legion. Mr. Safaris was a sergeant in the Lowell Police Department from 1953 to 1984. He was awarded the Policeman of the Year Award in 1982 for his unselfish devotion to duty. He was a remarkable, upstanding gentleman devoted to his wife and family, especially his 8 grandchildren, whom he loved dearly. In addition to his wife, Marilyn, he is predeceased by a grandson, Matthew. He will truly be missed, and he was truly the best. I'd like to also offer a moment of silence for 2 outstanding women who have made a difference in this community of the city of Lowell. Jane Riley, a former Highland resident who was once a very active member of the Lower Highland Neighborhood Council. She was a member of the former Notre Dame de Lourdes Parish and very active with the Ladies' Sodality, as well as a volunteer for 35 years at the parish bingo. Jane worked at Walgreen Pharmacy on Chelmsford Street since it opened 20 years ago. And secondly, Zelta Sally Correa. She worked at the USO as a volunteer during World War II, and like Jane Riley, devoting many years to the church, so did Sally. While living in the back central neighborhood area of this city, Sally devoted over 50 years in volunteer work to St. Anthony's Church and the Holy Ghost Society. Sally was an English education teacher and sang in the choir. She was a financial secretary of the St. Anthony's Building Fund, treasurer of the Holy Rosary Sodality, and the League of Catholic Women. Sally was an interpreter, a Eucharistic minister. She ran monthly bus trips for the Portuguese seniors, and she worked at the Lowell Council on Aging. Both these remarkable women were my friends, and they will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rita Mercier. The chair would like to recognize the Councilor Michael Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Paul A. Keefe of Lowell, age 79, who died unexpectedly on Saturday, December 27th. He was the husband of Mary Ann Fitzsimmons Keefe, with whom he celebrated their 52nd wedding anniversary this past May, a son of the late James E. and the late Emily J. Kerwin Keefe. He was born August 31st, 1929, and attended St. Peter's Grammar School and graduated from Lowell High School. Mr. Keefe served in the United States Air Force during the Korean War. He returned to Lowell and worked as a letter carrier for the United States Post Office for over 30 years, always delivered mail along the same Belvedere route until his retirement. He grew up in the flat section of the city and currently made his home in Belvedere, where he is a communicant of the Immaculate Conception Church. Well known throughout the Lowell area, he was a member of Long Meadow Golf Club, the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 662 Walker Rogers, the Disabled American Veterans, the Lowell Lodge of Elks, the Ancient Order of Hibernians, the Disabled Veterans of the United States Air Force, in the National Association of Letter Carriers. Mr. Keefe played under Coach Ray Riddick at Lowell High School and played collegiate football for the University of Georgia. He will be missed dearly by his family and by his family of friends at Long Meadow Golf Club, where his smiling face and contagious laugh were a fixture for many years.
And also, the mayor would like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Edward Bud Mulligan, a loving and devoted husband, father, grandfather, served this country with pride and distinction in the United States Navy, and was the father of former Lowell City Councilor Grady Mulligan. So if we can all stand, a moment of silence in darkened chambers for these.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor?
Mr.
sorry.
Mayor,
I
he
had
wasn't through.
several other,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd also like to have a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Joanne Comtois, loving wife, mother, and grandmother, who died Friday, January 9th, after a courageous 2.5-year battle with cancer. She was the beloved wife of Victor Comtois, with whom she would have celebrated 39 years of marriage in June. She was born in Lowell on July 21st, 1950, and she was the daughter of John and Anita Charette McCarthy of Lowell. Since 1991, Joanne was a loving foster mother to more than 75 children. In 1999, she and her husband were recognized for their devotion to foster parenting by receiving the Foster Parent of the Year award. She will be sadly missed by her family, friends, and her large extended family. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Claire Marcotte Lemire, 91, who passed away Friday, January 9th. Claire was born in Lowell on June 26, 1917. She was the daughter of the late William and Anna Kayer Marcotte. She was a loving wife of the late Leon Lemire, with whom she had celebrated 48 years of marriage. Claire was a former seamstress at Model Dress Shop in Lowell. Claire enjoyed doing volunteer work, for which she was awarded the 2004 President's Volunteer Service Award. She will be sadly missed by her family and her friends. And a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Arthur Lovejoy, age 81, the beloved husband of Doris E. Jardine Lovejoy, died Friday, January 7th. He was born in Lowell on June 15, 1927. He was the son of the late Arthur and Helen Slane Lovejoy. Arthur attended Lowell Public Schools upon graduation, served in the United States Navy on the USS Ticonderoga. Following his tour in the Navy, he attended Lowell Technological Institute and Springfield College. Arthur retired from the United States Department of Housing after 32 years as a realty specialist appraiser. He was also associated with the James Cooney Agency and Roger Hildreth Realty in his younger years. He was a lifelong member of the Lowell Lodge of Elks and the East End Club. He will be sadly missed by his family and friends. And also, if we could offer a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Paul Apples Georges, a lifelong resident of Lowell, who died Friday, January 2nd. He was born March 26, 1915 in Lowell, son of the late Polizolis and Elizabeth Georgiopoulos. Paul was the husband of Alice Kroll Georges, with whom he shared 72 years of loving marriage. He was employed with the B&M Railroad in Billerica for 20 years. Paul was also employed as a receiver at Demoulas Market Basket. His later years were spent working for the city of Lowell, where he was the Democratic city clerk for 15 years. He will be sadly missed by his family and friends. May you rest in peace.
Okay. Could we all stand now in darkened chambers and a moment of silence? Thank you. May they rest in peace. Thank you. We are honored this evening to have in our presence the Consul General of Columbia. This lovely woman not only serves the state of Massachusetts, but she serves the state of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Rhode Island as well. I would like to invite to the podium Viviana Gomez, Consul General of Columbia. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager, people here, Colombians who are with me in this important meeting. I'd like to thank for the opportunity to present myself. As a council, I work with the Colombian community in almost entire New England, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And as you know, we have a big community here in Lowell. And I know you have been working with them in different projects, especially the celebration of our Independence Day. Finally, I want to give you a special greeting from the President Alvaro Uribe and our Ambassador in Washington, Carolina Barco. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I might add, on July 20th, we will be raising the flag of Colombia, and Vivian, Anna Gomez, you will be here to offer your passion, your celebration as well. So thank you for being here, and welcome to our city. Thank you very much. I will now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting and place them on file by Councilor Armin Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The minutes have been accepted and placed on file. If I may, I'm going to ask my colleagues to take one article out of sequence, and that is the appointments to Domestic Violence Task Force. And I would like to add that, Mr. Manager, you have selected once again just a great group of people, dedicated employees of our city, dedicated citizens in our city as well, and we're all looking forward to working with the following: Kathy Kelly, David Tran, Dottie Duval, Claire Golis, City Manager Lynch, Brenda Teals, Linda Brown Zunis, Bonnie Gage Anderson, Marina Shell, Base Stankard, Brenda Richardson, Michelle Chadwick, Jill Davis, Rebecca Feldman, Fred Abbasi, Mulkea Ting, John Keegan, Michelle Davis, Susan Lucas, Tom Siopes, Kate Lassard, Kenya Hack, Dorothy Barros, Suhi Gage, and Dr. David Hirschkel. Thank you so much for serving on this wonderful and exceptional committee, and it's very, very important, and we'll be looking forward to that press conference on Thursday, February 12th. Mr. Manager, would you like to say a few words on these appointments?
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much, and I want to also extend my appreciation to all the members for the members that have been on for some time, for the hard work that they've put forward over the years, and for the new members, welcoming them and thanking them for volunteering to be involved in a very important issue facing all of us, including us here in the city of Lowell. This committee was formed some 10 plus years ago by then City Manager Brian Martin. It was carried forward by City Manager Cox, and it's a great pleasure of mine, and I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to carry it on once again. And I think that the committee has done an outstanding job over the last number of years in really raising the awareness of the problem of domestic violence here in the community and beyond this community. And I look forward to working with all of them. I know they have a number of different ideas of ways to, again, raise awareness and improve the way we respond to incidents of domestic violence here in the community. And I appreciate their willingness to step forward.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Kelly, or
would someone like to?
Well, we have quite a number of members of the task force, just to stand up, so the city
Yes,
council,
that's a wonderful idea, yes. Fred Abbasi? Yeah.
Tom Seals from the police department, Dottie Barrios from the DA's office here, and hopefully I didn't leave anybody out at this point in time. And Konya, okay?
Thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
Kathy Kelly, thank you. Thank you very much. Motion to accept the communication, place it on file. Council Mercer?
And Mr. Mayor, building upon the success of last year's inaugural, it says, the White Ribbon Day will take place for the second annual White Ribbon Campaign. It'll kick off at City Hall on Thursday, February 12th at noon, so if we could put that on our agenda and make sure that it's a better success than last year. That's a very important issue. Thank you.
That will happen, yes. and we'll all wear those white ribbons again in the council chambers and in the school committee as well.
Thank
So I'll
you.
entertain a motion to
Yes.
accept the communication placed on file by Council Rita Mercer, second by Council Milonazo. All in favor of accepting the communication, signify by saying yes. No, the communication's been accepted and placed on file. Moving on with the agenda, communications for Manager Lynch. Does any discussion on any communications Manager Lynch has sent to the council? Council Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, there was a communication from the Department of Revenue, I think it was good news and fairly congratulatory in tone, the way we've gone about eliminating the deficit in the free cash account over the last few years, and now it stands at least a slightly positive figure. So I congratulate you for your work on that, but my question is, at some point in the past, the Department of Revenue insisted on seeing our audited financial statements before they would certify free cash and before they would certify tax rate. That hasn't been a problem yet, but I can envision circumstances where it could be a problem. And my question is, how long is this supervision, I guess, going to remain in place?
Well, Council, we were very pleased with the meat of the letter. I think that we've made important strides here in the city over the last 2 or 3 years to really turn around the financial situation of the city, as they highlight there. But we were also disappointed that they continue to require that the city have the audit done before they approve the tax rate. That is an action that they placed upon the city back in 2006, and we would have liked to have seen it lifted this year. We will be in touch with the Director of Accounts to see if we can have that removed. I anticipate that it will stay in place at least for 2009, but I would hope that by 2010 we'll be able to have that removed. As you know, there hasn't been a problem with the city getting its tax rate done in time. In fact, I want to say that this year was one of the earliest years that the tax rate had ever been approved for the city of Lowell, so it hasn't been a problem as of yet. But it's certainly it's again a mark against us in our minds that they have yet to remove that, based upon certainly based upon the progress that we made. That we think that they should remove that.
Thank you. That's all I have on that, Mr. Mayor, but I do have another comment on another item in the manager's reports.
Council Mercer, you have the same comment on the...
No, on something else.
Well, Council Martin, and then I'll get to
Till
you.
budgets.
Mayor.
Council Martin?
Councilor Elliott, I think, has on this point.
Council Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a couple of questions for the auditor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the auditor, it cites in the second paragraph the Saugus Arena Enterprise Fund went from a negative 1.4 to approximately $600,000. Don't we typically, as it states in the following paragraph, that we have to close out any fund balance deficits before that? So
Correct.
Did the difference in those two come from the general fund, or was that just an increase in revenues? It went from a negative 1.4 to a negative 600,000.
That's because we raised the deficit from the prior year in the next year.
Right.
So that's what's sitting on the books at year end.
Right, okay.
Oh, wait.
It's
And
not
we'll
a
be
dramatic
raising
increase
that.
in revenues, it's from balance at the end of the year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Ongoing operations.
Are there any other, just one last question, Mr. Mayor. Are there any other, the Department of Revenue notes, any other deficits in enterprise funds will naturally have to be closed out? That's the only one. Okay, thank you.
Council Rita Mercer, then Council Martin, and Council Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In our packet as well was a budget control report and significant measures that were taken by you, Mr. Manager, to prepare for ourselves for the inevitable next year's budget. And in that, it showed how you cut $1,033,768 budgeted positions not filled during 2009. There were 9 positions. Then it says positions removed from the budget that were funded with $1. There were 32 or so positions. And then requisitions denied or held since November 1st. And that totaled $1,033,000. Are we anticipating any more cuts that we should be looking at?
Well,
I know that's a significant blow to the city, but is there any more that we have to cut?
Well, the 2 points, I guess. One is that that includes the numbers we showed there. We wanted to show the full picture of what's happened in the city over the last couple of years. The largest chunk of that $603,000 number that you see, are positions that were really eliminated over the last couple of years. This year, it's been the $373,000 and then those requisitions. So this year, we've already. Those are the two numbers that really matter right now. Plus, we have seen some other savings in transitional events that occurred during the year with positions, people going out on sick leave, that we reached some savings. And so we're making some progress there. I anticipate that there'll be some discussion later on under Councilor Elliott's motion or under, or I guess it would be under this. Yes, we are expecting further cuts. We will continue to hold the line on filling of positions. We will continue to hold the line on further requisitions to control costs. And we do that in anticipation for next year. We do that on a regular basis, even without these situations, is just a management practice to make sure that we're spending the city's tax dollars wisely. But of greater concern is that the December numbers are now in from the state on the capital gains and some of their revenues. They're falling further behind than they had anticipated. And it is very likely that there will be some cuts to our local aid that will take place over the next for the next 6 months. We don't have an exact number on that yet. We're waiting to see what the governor comes out with. We're waiting to hear in his report to the legislature at the State of the State address, and I'll be attending a meeting with the Mass Municipal Association in the next couple of weeks where we anticipate a full rollout of some of these cuts. But we have been developing a number of contingency plans as we've advised the council in preparation of the possibility of these 9C cuts, and I do anticipate that we will be making reductions. There will probably be reductions in personnel is a distinct possibility, as well as further controls on costs. But at this point in time, we're still working on the scope of those, and we're going to need to sit down with the unions and the employees and talk about some of these and see if we can find some cooperative ways to make some of these happen with the least impact on services and the least impact on the people involved. But it's without a doubt, it's a very bleak time right now economically, as I think we all know. There will be further cuts, and there will be, we anticipate there'll be very serious cuts next year as well.
But you can't give me a figure on a projected price figure for cuts.
I'd be hesitant to do that right now because we don't have the full number out there yet. It could be somewhere between, let's put it this way, I've talked to the delegation, members of the delegation, and the numbers have ranged from 0 to upwards of $3 million.
Would this be a part of that reduction?
That will help us close some of that gap because that money was budgeted and not being spent, but it could be quite dramatic. And again, we have some plans in place ready for implementation, but let's be clear, it will have a dramatic impact upon services.
Thank you.
Councilor Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the report I had asked for several weeks ago about city housing programs and the number of foreclosures. And there is a report in here, and I just want to recite the statistics because I think it is pretty remarkable. We have several housing programs primarily that assist first-time home buyers. Over the last few years, we have loans for affordable housing developers, 8 loans creating 462 units, over $3 million. No loans in default, none in foreclosure. First-time home buyer program, 502 loans, $1.6 million in value, no loans in default, none in foreclosure. Twofold housing program, 107 loans, $389,000, no loans in default and none in foreclosure. And we have a housing rehab program with 70 loans, $1.3 million. There are 15 that are delinquent and 1 in foreclosure. So we're talking about 16 loans that are a problem, out of a total of 670 some odd loans. So to me, I think that shows a number of things, particularly the foreclosure crisis that we've seen. We've seen that the education program offered by the Merrimack Valley Housing Partnerships, the people that take these loans, is a big success. I think the way the city screens these loans and is careful lending it out is a big success. But more importantly, I think we should be looking, and there may be opportunities for us to expand some of these programs with the, I know we're in bleak economic times and the city's not going to be in a position to fund these programs, and potentially we could have cuts in these programs. So I'd like to refer this report to the Housing Subcommittee. I think we have some opportunities working with Congress, potentially in the federal bailout legislation, and with some maybe private foundation support. When you have a track record like this, I think we have an opportunity to make something of this and perhaps get some more money into the city for programs, for properties that are distressed, and more opportunities for new home buyers. So I thank the manager and the DPD staff for this report, but more importantly for their hard work in keeping the number of problem loans to a minimum. I think it's one of the untold success stories that we have here in the city, and I think we should be looking for ways to expand things like this.
It's a good point, Councilor Martin, and we should also applaud the local banking community in our city for doing an outstanding job with all their clients, and they're not even part of these foreclosures. Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This will be, I'm looking forward to the state of the state, but we continue to, and we will later on during this meeting, talk about the state of the Songus Arena. But once again, in the newspaper this week, there was an article about funds that Craig Gates anticipated were going to be there and apparently are not there. Can you just explain that situation, what's happening with that? Or?
Sure. The article referred to the fact that some 3 years ago, the city entered into the city and the Arena Commission entered into a lease with the Devils. It was a 2-year lease with an option at their sole option to extend that, and the agreement was that they would pay $150,000 a year in rent. After near the end of their first year of their lease, I contacted the Devils on behalf of the city and notified them that we were, in all likelihood, given the financial situation at that time, going to terminate that lease because we didn't have the available funds. And it was late in the process, or late in the year, and there was talk of litigation and disruption of their franchise. In the end, the decision was made by the Devils in negotiations to increase their payment by $125,000 for the second year of their agreement. But it would only be for that second year of their agreement, and not necessarily for the option years. At the time, too, the Arena Commission, the City Council, was not interested in necessarily encouraging the first year of their, not interested in having them exercise that option year. So we executed that agreement that it would only be for that 1 year. Mr. Gates appropriately contacted them and asked them to pay the full amount, the $275,000 that they'd paid the prior year, and they advised him that their position was that it was only $150,000, that was only for that 1 year. We are now looking at that with the Arena Commission, with Council, and looking at what options there are for us. Again, it enters into an area that I'd be happy to meet with the Council in executive session to discuss that lease and the negotiations that are ongoing with that. But suffice to say that right now they are back to that $150,000 number, and we are putting together our options for how we're going to handle that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions pertaining to communications? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the communications by Counsel Elliott, second by Counsel Broderick. Accept the communications, place them on file. All in favor signify by saying aye. The communications from the manager have been placed on file and recorded. We're now entering into the public hearing, 7 p.m. And what's before us this evening is an ordinance amending the new code of ordinances for the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, the code by adding to chapter 104 a new article 4 regarding pit bulls. Those wishing to come to the podium and speak in favor, I understand we have quite a few people who are going to speak in favor and in opposition, so if you could keep your comments to 4 minutes or less. I know the rules say 5, but if we can keep the 4 minutes or less, we'd appreciate it. That way everyone would have a chance to speak either in favor or opposition. So those wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come forward, give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, City Manager. My name is Craig Gates, 128 Warren Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. I figured I'd get up here first because my name was just being mentioned anyway, and also I know I'm probably going to be one of the least popular people in the room tonight, but first of all, a little history on this. Excuse me. I got my dog from a shelter about 4 years ago, adopted him from a shelter in Sterling, Massachusetts. Means the world to me. One morning I was out walking him a couple of months ago, Halloween morning as a matter of fact, and he was attacked and almost killed by an unleashed pit bull. I came before you folks soon after that. You were already working on one of your subcommittees on a new ordinance, which I had asked or advocated to put more regulation into, especially for loose or dangerous dogs that were off leash. Since then, you've ramped it up a little bit and putting in this pit bull regulation, which at first I was a little iffy as to whether or not I thought it should be breed specific. But the more studying I've done on this, the more I'm convinced that there is a problem with pit bulls, not only here in Lowell, but throughout the United States, throughout the world. The center, I know you're going to have a lot of statistics tonight, but one of the things that you really need to take into consideration is the Center for Disease Control, which is very hard to argue with, did a study that showed out of all the fatalities, of which there were over hundreds of thousands of fatalities from dog bites or from dog attacks, 1/3 came from pit bulls in this country. Now, think of all the different breeds of dogs that there are, and 1/3 of all fatal attacks by dogs were pit bulls. Also, insurance companies throughout this country, certain insurance companies will not insure types of dogs, namely the Staffordshire Pit Bull, the American Staffordshire Terrier. There's a number of dogs that are legally classified as pit bulls that insurance companies won't insure homeowners for. Again, insurance companies being breed specific. Now, a number of cities throughout the country have put in ordinances against pit bulls. There are a number of countries all over the world, not cities, not states, but countries that have ordinances against pit bulls. I don't think we're alone here in this situation. And luckily, my dog today is still alive, even though my pocketbook's not as alive as it was beforehand. I spoke to the gentleman earlier today whose service dog was attacked on Middle Street back in the summer. His dog is fine, and kudos to the MSPCA and the Humane Society helped him pay to get his dog fixed. But he still has out medical bills because the pit bull attacked him to get to his dog. He was bitten by the dog. So, I mean, you don't hear Chihuahuas, you don't hear, of many other breeds of dogs that are consistently attacking other dogs, attacking other people. So, again, I want to support this ordinance, and I thank you all for the hard work that you put into this. Just remember one thing: this country our society is based on rules and regulations. Not everybody's going to agree with every rule and regulation, and that being the case, look at the side leaning towards public safety And I think that's the way, the direction you should go in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is David Stewart, and I live on 120 Chapel Street. On Friday, the 30th of May of the past year, my little 8.5-pound half Yorkshire Terrier, half Maltese, was attacked by a bull mastiff that lives on Linden Street. And the bull mastiff we were walking, at noon on a early summer afternoon, and the bull mastiff just burst out of a house through a screen door and through a gate and attacked my little dog. And luckily he was not harmed greatly, but it still did involve a $270 vet bill. The dog did not, I was scratched, but wasn't bitten. But I'm strongly in favor of this legislation or this ordinance. I wish it had more teeth. If this dog on Linden Street has attacked other people and other dogs, and in my humble opinion, it should be humanely disposed of. And I think that the discretionary portion of the ordinance as it's written should have more teeth, that it's made mandatory if a dog has a history of attacking either other animals or people, it should be disposed of humanely, not shot, humanely. Thank you.
Anyone else like to come to the podium to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone else like to come to the podium? In favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the public hearing is closed. Those people wishing to speak in opposition, please give us your name and address, please.
My name is Paul Callery. I'm a resident of Lowell, Massachusetts at 87 Hampshire Street. I'd like to speak, I don't want to speak back to a person, but I too have looked at the CDC, and they stated on their website there is currently no accurate way to identify the number of dog of a particular breed, and consequently to measure to determine which breeds are more likely to bite or kill. That's by the CDC on their website. The number one thing in breed of biting dogs may not be accurately recorded. Mixed breeds are commonly described as purebreds. As you can see out there, there are some 25 breeds that look like a pit bull. The American Staffordshire Terrier pit bull weighs only 25 pounds or so and is a very small breed. I think everybody has this image of a big husky pit bull attack dog like the bull mastiff. Well, if you want to breed, if you want to be specific on putting something that's going to protect our citizens, we need to be more general, and you need to include other breeds, not just a pit bull. This is not the first time it's been before us. It's been before us here in Lowell for the Doberman back in the 70s. Thank God somebody came to mind and said, no, the Doberman's a peaceful dog. There are several instances that have been described as pit bull fighting, biting, mauling, and killings. There are 2 listed on the web page at the CDC as being a pit bull killing, when actually one of them, it was the dog owner was holding down a female victim and repeatedly having it attacked by the pit bull. This was a human attack, not a dog attack. In most cases, this legislation does not help the good citizens of the town. It attacks them. It limits them. It hurts the good dogs in your town. It does not stop the ones that are free. It does not stop the irresponsible people within your city limits. This article was again in today's Boston paper. I looked up in other communities that have this type of breed-specific legislation. They are generally poor communities that nobody wants to visit. I don't want to list my town as one of those. Thank you.
Thank you.
This information's kind of rough. I put it together last minute before the meeting tonight. I wish I had been more prepared. Some of this information was obtained from the Sioux City Journal. They recently also had a city council meeting about a pit bull ordinance, and the outcome was unanimous, 5-0, 5 votes for no muzzles, because it can leave a dog incapable of self-defense and can actually stress the animal. But they did vote in favor of mandatory microchips for identification, yes to a leash no greater than 6 feet in length, yes to kennel and runners in the yard, and yes to more strict licensing. I found in this posting of the Sioux City Journal, they reported 73 vicious attacks. 73. Only one incident was a dog on a leash. The rest were loose. That was a Great Dane that had grabbed a cat. The cat did not survive. I also read some other communities dealt with it, that in order to walk a pit bull, you have to be at least 18 years of age, because this is an adult capable of responsibility and accountability to make mature decisions. If you have a dog you think may have a tendency, I mean, you need to be mature and responsible and make decisions. Is this animal right for you? So on and so forth. The pit bull for a long time has been a working dog. They love to have a job. They respond well to training and being active. These dogs were often referred to as the nanny dog for their loyalty and their reliability for a long time. I feel the responsibility of an attack is on the owner, not the dog. These dogs not only need to be raised correctly, but breeding is critical also in the puppy's future. I think we need to step up responsibility and accountability for the owners and move towards a positive future for this breed. I read somewhere that mandatory spaying or neutering is up for this, and to me, bluntly, it sounds like genocide. I mean, if they're being spayed and neutered everybody, where's there an opportunity to have the good dogs? You know, I've had 4 pit bulls in my lifetime, 3 of them rescued, 1 I actually had a litter myself, and these dogs are amazing. I have 2 at home right now, and they're complete goofballs, lovable dogs. I have 2 nieces, 6 and 3 years old, that come over and hang on them and play with them, and it's about socializing the animal and raising them properly, you know, along with proper breeding. You know, if the dog's caged and kept aside, that's a different story. But, you know, it also stated, I read somewhere, mandatory closed windows in your house. This doesn't seem like a fair practice. It doesn't seem practical. Your windows on your home have to be closed at all times. I mean, I understand situations where we heard a dog had burst through a window. That's very unfortunate. And I'm sorry to hear about something like that. But again, this is plain and simple, in my opinion, prejudice and segregation, taking one specific breed and saying that if you have this type of dog, all these ordinances will be against you. And again, it is going to punish a lot of responsible owners like myself who have licensed animals, up-to-date rabies, trained very in close with the animals, and I love my animals. Enough, I'm here tonight to speak for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amy Martyr. I live at 46 Madison Avenue in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm a veterinarian and a certified applied animal behaviorist, and I have had the opportunity to evaluate the behavior of numerous dogs that have been identified as pit bulls. I've had the opportunity to identify numerous dogs not to identify, but to evaluate, behavioral evaluate, numerous dogs that are identified as other breeds as well. What I have found and what my colleagues have found, that within any breed, there's enormous behavioral variability. So by naming a breed, you cannot say that this breed will demonstrate these behaviors. Although we say that Labradors will retrieve balls, there are many Labrador retrievers that will not retrieve balls. So that is an example of behavioral variability within a breed. Then I took it upon myself to say, what are pit bulls? Pit bulls that have been identified by experts. Pit bulls that are identified as pit bulls by shelter workers, as pit bulls by pit bull advocates. And we took blood samples from 30 of these so-called pit bulls and said, what breed are you? Are you a pit bull terrier? Are you an American Staffordshire Terrier? And what experts have identified as pit bulls are mixed breeds. The last one we evaluated was a dog at the New Hampshire SPCA that was from a pit bull breeder. We took the DNA from this pit bull breeder, and the dog had DNA traces of a German wire-haired pointer and a Yorkshire Terrier. However, the people at the New Hampshire SPCA were calling this a pit bull. So we have no good way to identify pit bulls, which is a problem with breed-specific legislation. And secondly, there's huge breed variability within breeds, and within mixed breeds, you would expect more behavioral variability. Just as the man who just spoke says he had 4 so-called pit bulls that were delightful dogs. There are many so-called pit bulls that are delightful dogs. There are many so-called pit bulls that are not so delightful dogs. But that happens in any breed. So there what we call, when a dog becomes dangerous, it becomes dangerous because it's an individual, not because it's a certain breed. So I have also taken the opportunity to make some copies of this viewpoint that says that it's impossible to identify a breed by appearance, and it's impossible to predict behavior based on appearance. And there are better ways to control dangerous dogs than by picking on a certain breed. The first person talked about breed bans all over the world. And what's happening recently is that there were breed bans. There was a breed ban in Lower Saxony, Germany, and that has been overturned because they found that it wasn't doing any good, and also there was too much variability within the dogs that were banned. The Netherlands overturned their breed ban because it wasn't doing any good. The United Kingdom is now considering overturning their breed ban because it did no good. So there are better ways to control dangerous dogs. We need to control dangerous dogs, but there are better ways than a breed-specific muzzle order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark Lynch, 615 Beacon Street. Forgive me, but I think the council just enacted a dangerousness policy regarding all dogs in the city. I think it was the 23rd, correct? And Councilor Mercier, at that time, before people were speaking, you said, let's see what we have with this ordinance before we make any amendments, and we'll take it from there. And then the public hearing was closed, and there was a vote taken, and it passed. Last time I checked, a pit bull was a dog, so the pit bull would be covered under the vicious and dangerousness policy that was just put forth by the city council. So for me, if there's a leash law already on the books, and now there's a viciousness and dangerousness policy that's been around for 3 weeks that we really don't know what we have yet, why are we going to add another layer to make animal control and the police's job even more difficult when they're out targeting pit bulls now, when frankly the police have more things to do? If people followed the leash law to begin with, and we actually saw what we had regarding a viciousness and a dangerousness policy and used it to the letter of the law, we wouldn't need this. A couple of facts that I found, according to the AKC, the single most decorated military service dog in the history of the United States Army is Stubby in World War II. And Stubby was an American pit bull. And while I don't have a pit bull, I have an Old English bulldog who is mistaken quite often for being a pit bull. So now do I have to worry about people telling me I need to muzzle my dog? Moreover, licensed pit bulls like Mr. Callery, who take the time to actually go down to City Hall, register his dogs, keep up to date on shots, which frankly a lot of the dog owners in the cities don't even pick up their waste, let alone register their dogs. How's his dog going to defend itself if a Doberman or a Rottweiler or a Pomeranian or insert breed here attacks his dogs? They have a muzzle, now they can't defend themselves. So I think that while the city council's heart might be in the right place on this, they're not going about it correctly, because a pit bull is a dog and all dogs are now covered under the viciousness policy. I look at this and we just listened to the vet, and she's an expert, and the Humane Society spoke at the last meeting on the 23rd, and the MSPCA spoke. And am I allowed to ask questions, Mayor Caulfield?
You're allowed to give a short 4-minute presentation.
Councilor Lenzi, if I needed help with a recipe...
No, you're not allowed to do that.
Oh, I'm not allowed to do that.
No.
So, all right, if I need help with my car, I'll go to a mechanic. And if I need help with, if I'm not feeling good, I go to a doctor. And if I need sound legal advice, I'll go to a lawyer. So regarding dogs and animals, why wouldn't I listen to the experts of that field, which would be the MSPCA and the Humane Society? And last time I checked, they're against this. So if we're going to listen to experts, if we need a study done on the water flow of the Merrimack River, and then we use that to enact whatever legislation is used to enact it, why wouldn't we listen to the Humane Society and the MSPCA on this? It makes no sense, because if you can't in good conscience listen to the experts in this field, then come November, I, as a responsible dog owner, might not in good conscience be able to vote for someone who voted in favor of this. Now, I'm just one citizen, but I see a room full of people here with me, and voters have a memory. So I encourage you guys all to do the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Holly Stump, and I live at 263 Topsfield Road in Ipswich. I'm here representing the National Animal Interest Alliance as well as the Mass Federation of Dog Clubs.
Where'd you say you were from?
Ipswich.
Ipswich.
Mass Federation of Dog Clubs was involved in several ordinances local to Lowell, Methuen, and Haverhill specifically within the last 2 years. Haverhill had an existing breed-specific ordinance in place. They had several occurrences which the ordinance wouldn't apply to, was not applicable to, and this opened up their eyes to the fact that they needed an ordinance based on behavior. There's 5 or 6 people in this room tonight, MSPCA, the Mass Animal Control Officers Association, the Lowell Humane Society, the organizations I work with, that would be willing to sit down with you and draft something at no cost that would resolve your problems. I only got a copy of your December 23rd ordinance last week, but basically that looks like something that's going to do the job for you if you give it time. Leash law enforcement is critical, and to elaborate a little bit more on the CDC study, they actually went as far as to state that the numbers should not be used to make judgments on validity of dog bites, because the statistics and numbers were so inaccurately corrected. And they've actually stopped collecting this data because of the way it was generated. I guess most of the other points have been hit, but definitely there's a lot of us here that are willing to help you fine-tune what you already have in place. Your December 23rd ordinance looks like it will be effective for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Carmen Pombiero, and I represent Lowell Unleashed. And we'd like to thank the
city manager, the mayor, the city councilors, and just about everyone in the chamber tonight for giving us the opportunity to express our concerns regarding the proposed pit bull ordinance. While Lowell Unleashed generally is in favor of the dangerous dogs ordinance and its tenets, it is opposed to the pit bull ordinance at this time. We feel that the proposal of the ordinances during the busy holiday times made it difficult to allow for all concerned residents to fully prepare and provide input into the ordinances. We also feel that additional research must be done by the council and its designees in exploring alternative solutions and collaborating with local animal experts to devise an appropriate course of action. One aspect that a gentleman had brought up of the ordinance requires pit bull owners to keep their windows closed at all times, even during the oppressively hot summer months. Aside from the harmful health impact of such an idea, this is just one premise of the ordinance out of several that sounds underdeveloped. It's also premature to propose the addition of this pit bull amendment before allowing the dangerous dogs ordinance sufficient time to achieve its goals. Why not hold off on passing the amendment until we can all evaluate whether the dangerous dogs ordinance is working? Not all pit bulls are dangerous dogs, and not all dangerous dogs are pit bulls, so it would be a mistake to confuse the two and combine these ordinances simply out of convenience. The pit bull ordinance does not solve the larger issue of insufficient education within the dog owning population. With dog ownership comes great responsibility, a premise that is not realized by many individuals until after a dog is introduced into a new family. Many people jump into dog ownership without the proper research on breed, demeanor, training, and commitment, whether it's financial, physical, or emotional commitment. And unfortunately, oftentimes this results in a dog being unbalanced because it's not the proper fit with its family. That isn't the dog's fault, but the owner's mistake for not properly investigating and understanding the extensive requirements of dog ownership. This is where education is of vital importance. I think everyone can agree that education is key to almost everything. The public must understand the immense responsibility required of dog owners prior to acquiring a new dog, a mission that Lowell Unleashed is committed to and a subject that we are willing to collaborate with the city on. In reaching out to dog owners before, during, and after the selection of a dog, we can endow owners with the proper knowledge in following the mandatory city regulations, such as proper licensing and abiding by the leash law, selecting the right breed for the right family, providing appropriate training throughout the life of the dog, and identifying warning signs of aggressive and disturbing behavior. This is just a small list of the benefits of providing greater education to the community. While we recognize that there are dog breeds that may require more extensive training and handling, the onus in understanding and providing that lies with the dog owner and not the dog. Ultimately, the dog owner is responsible for his dog's actions, but the city, working in partnership with Lowell Unleashed, can help dog owners in this effort. This pit bull ordinance is reactive, not proactive. It will simply punish responsible dog owners who already abide by all the city's animal regulations. Before enacting another law that is difficult to enforce, such as this one, the city must first strictly enforce the licensing and leash laws currently in place, which it has been lenient in enforcing. This ordinance will give already non-compliant dog owners additional reasons not to register their dogs. The city must recognize that there is a huge disparity between the number of licensed dogs versus the number of actual dogs residing in the city. This must be corrected first. In addition, the city first must fully enact and support the dangerous dogs ordinance on its own merits before ratifying amendments to it. The lack of dog ownership education and non-enforcement of the leash and licensing laws currently in place within the city are contributing factors to all negative dog incidents, regardless of breed or demeanor. Lowell Unleashed believes that the solution lies in providing extensive education to the dog-owning population and rigorous enforcement of the leash and licensing laws currently in place. And we collectively are prepared to assist the city in any way that we can. We aren't asking you to to entirely abandon the pit bull ordinance. Just delay it until we can all properly evaluate the effectiveness of increased enforcement of the current regulations. Lowell Unleashed stands before you today, willing to contribute and volunteer its time, its talents, ideas, resources, fundraising efforts, and the hard work of its membership base in order to achieve these goals. We would relish the opportunity to collaborate with the city on these issues and provide you our full and complete support. However, we ask the city to please do the right thing and delay passage of this unrealistic and unenforceable ordinance. We invite the City Council and all involved parties to meet with Lowell Unleashed to work together in compromise and jointly develop solutions that benefit the community as a whole. We appreciate your thoughtful and heartfelt consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat Hunt. I live at, on North Llewellyn Street in Lowell, Mass. I'm here because I'm not in favor of muzzling all pit bulls. We currently have the dangerous dog ordinance in the city, and I think that's a great ordinance. However, to kind of piggyback on what they said, we have the ordinances already in place. What we need to do is find the best way to enforce them. What we have are too many irresponsible dog owners who just refuse to leash their dogs. And these are not necessarily pit bulls. These are every dog. So I would ask the City Council to consider whatever you have to do, whether it's to hire more animal control officers, but somehow find a way to enforce these leash laws that we have in place. Unless they're enforced and people start following them, it doesn't matter how many ordinances you put in the city, they're not going to work until these people understand that when they own a dog, they're responsible for their dog's behavior. Whether it's a pit bull, whether it's a chihuahua, it doesn't matter. They're responsible for their behaviors, and it's up to them, and it's up to maybe the city to help out to find a way to get these people to understand. I see that as the problem. We have the ordinances, and they don't seem to mean a lot to too many people in the city. So unfortunately, you have pit bulls that have attacked, but it is the parents, I call them parents because they are the parents. It's their responsibility. It's like your child running amok in the city. It's your responsibility to take care of that child. And it's the dog owner's responsibility to leash their dog and to curb their dogs. And I'm hoping that the city will consider thinking about this a little longer, maybe see how the new ordinance plays out, give it maybe 7 or 8 months, assess it, see if it works. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Tim Zanoni. I live at 70 Stromquist Avenue in Lowell. I don't have any statistics. I just have an experience. I got my dog a year ago. As you can see, I'm a very large man. I was over 400 pounds when I got my dog. I'm down to 350 now. That's from walking my dog every day. I can sit up here and tell you all the good things about my pit bull and everybody else's pit bull, but it's on you guys. I love my dog. I do anything for my dog. That's why I'm speaking tonight. I've had depression problems in the past. This dog's pretty much saved my life. I feel if I didn't have my pit bull, I wouldn't be here today. That's all I wanted to say. And please think about this law. It really affects a lot of people. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm the president of the Animal Control Officers Association for the state of Massachusetts. I'm also the director of animal control for the city of New Bedford. We have about 100,000 people in the city, and talking to Bill earlier, it is tough being an animal control officer, especially when you're dealing with these situations. I took a quick look at the ordinance that's proposed. To be honest with you, as an animal control officer, it's going to be hard to enforce. All you have to really do is go to a vet, and the vet says it's a box of mix. It's a box of mix. How are we going to turn that around? The other thing is with the whole situation with the incidents that you have on the ordinance. All those incidents, these owners still have these dogs. What kind of responsibility did the city of Lowell put on these owners? I know back home we have a potentially dangerous and a vicious dog ordinance, just like the one that you passed, and it does work. I have a Boston Terrier that's a vicious dog. And you laugh, but this dog actually got loose twice and went after a Cocker Spaniel that a 60-year-old lady was walking. She fell and hurt her knees. That dog, to me, it's not the breed, it's not the pit bull or what, it's a Boston Terrier that was a danger to that lady. When she fell, she hurt herself, went to the hospital. That's what it's all about. Animal control is public safety and the safety of the people in my city. And it's basically either you become a good, responsible dog owner, or you shouldn't be allowed to own a dog, period. I don't care if it's a Boston Terrier, I don't care if it's a pit bull. It's about responsibility. The actions of your dog, hurting them in the pocket, basically what it comes down to. I cite them. Your dog's going to get loose. Again, if it does, you're going to have to get him microchipped, spayed and neutered. You don't want to do that, then obviously you don't care enough about this dog to take it back home. And I don't want that dog out in the community. And that's what it comes down to. Strong law enforcement on our end. I have 2 animal control officers back home, and that's what we have to do. We just pulled 32 pit bulls out of one house. You know, it was out in the news. None of those dogs had any incidents. They're actually really nice dogs. We end up working out with Operation Dog Tag. Lieutenant Borgel is here. He's one of the people that actually initiated this program, and it's offered to any animal control officer in the state. And I took the opportunity. We hit all the hard areas. We hit all the areas that people were just letting their dogs run loose. You know what? We went out there with the Animal Rescue of Boston, the MSPCA, and we hit everyone for failure to restrain their dog, failure to license your dog. If your dog's not licensed, I take your dog from you. Go get it at the shelter. Cost them money. You really want your dog back, you're going to get it done the right way. It's just basically hard law enforcement. And without the help that Bill needs, you can pass any ordinance, any law you want. If he doesn't get the help, it's never going to happen. It's just tough. I mean, we have to. I went from licensing 1,300 dogs. We're up to over 4,000 dogs licensed in the city. It's just basically going out there and just hitting them hard. So I really think
very much.
noise like this will not work. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Mike Kiley. I'm not a resident of Lowell. However, I do represent many of your citizens in Lowell, where we've placed many animals through the MSPCA into your city over the past number of years. I think what I would just like to say, you all have heard me on this, and I've met with the subcommittee on this issue. And I think what that we certainly applaud is that you are recognizing that there are some issues in your city that you want to solve. And those issues are dangerous dogs. And I think what we have clearly stated in many forms, in many ways, and what all the citizens that are here and all the professionals in this area are saying to you is, please reconsider this legislation that you're trying to put into place. This is not a piece of legislation that we believe will work, and not a piece of legislation that will ultimately reward the people who are being responsible in your town and punish the people who are irresponsible. I would like to offer our assistance, like I have at the subcommittee, in saying to you that please put this on hold, and I hope that all the city councilors have thought about this. Please put this on hold for the time being. Please let us take the opportunity, like we did in the cities of Methuen and Haverhill, and find success together, where we can sit in one room and come up with creative solutions, proactive solutions that will help you with your dog problem in Lowell. By passing this legislation, you will have done nothing to accomplish anything to change your dangerous dog situation. However, with the collaboration of the professionals in your community, like the MSPCA, the Lowell Humane Society, and Lowell Unleashed, we would be happy to sit with you and find a collaboration in which we can all work together to have a safer community in the city of Lowell. We would like that collaboration to happen very much, and we would be happy to meet at any time, again, free of charge. Just please put this on hold and give us the opportunity to work with the City Council to make your city safer. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jolene Landry. I live at 603 Wilder Street in Lowell. I also work at Wignall Animal Hospital. We are the local pound for the city of Lowell. I've worked there for the past 8 years, and for the past 2 years, I've taken care of every stray dog that's come into the building. I believe I'm the only person that can firsthand say why the amendment's not going to work. The city believes that the people will abide by the amendment simply because they're good owners. I'm not sure why the city believes that the owners will pay a fine or agree to any terms animal control gives when they don't even license their dog with the city as it is. I had run a check, and actually out of 265 dogs that were picked up in Lowell last year, only 8 of them were licensed. The number of pit bulls to come in as strays in 2008 was 62. More than half of them weren't claimed. This means that the city paid for these strays to be vaccinated, kenneled, and disposed of, yet the owners don't get off with anything. They can just go out to purchase another dog from a neighbor, a friend, a cousin. They're never held responsible. More statistics showed that the number of dogs quarantined for biting from 2007 to 2008 was 18. Any of the dog bites that are bad enough to require medical attention, they have to come through the doors of Wignall. The city council had told us that the number of attacks from pit bulls was 22. It's not true. The fact is that 18 of the dogs to be quarantined or rabies tested, 8 of them were pit bulls. Only 2 of the bites were to humans. None were actual attacks, but minor bites. And I'm not saying that the bites are irrelevant, but they're not attacks. The truth is that the number of pit bulls that were adopted out was 16. So it just proves that it's not the dogs, it is the owner. I feel that the city is finding it easier to put this amendment into effect because it will ease residents' fears of pit bulls. But unfortunately, I believe that all you're doing is reinforcing their fears and ignorance. I actually own a pit bull. When she comes into work with me, I have clients who will pet her, comment on how well-behaved she is. Ironically, they then ask what kind of dog she is. I'm able to either educate people or offend them. It's completely up to them. Whether they're open enough to realize that they've never actually met a pit bull, but only heard about them from people like you, from the news, the media. I enjoy taking time to educate people since it's my business and I feel specialty. I don't feel it fair to classify my dog as aggressive by making her wear a muzzle when exercising her. Why should she be traumatized by having to wear such an intimidating piece of equipment? Just so the city council can convince residents that they've come up with a solution for a problem that I don't feel exists. I feel this amendment is a Band-Aid to the actual problem that we need to start punishing those citizens that breed pit bulls and are found to have unlicensed pit bulls rather than going after the responsible owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kara Holmquist. I live in Boston. I'm the Director of Advocacy at the MSPCA, and as Mike said, we represent many, many residents in Lowell. I don't want to repeat what others have said. I do want to repeat what the first speaker said, who was actually speaking in favor of this, and I too would encourage you to err on the side of public safety. In doing so, keep and enforce the comprehensive dangerous dog ordinance in lieu of the pit bull ordinance. You've heard that all the experts, the veterinarians, the behaviorists, the people on the street, the animal control officers enforcing this, all do not recommend this way to deal with dangerous dogs and would urge you to adopt the comprehensive dangerous dog ordinance. At best, focusing on breeds like pit bulls is a soundbite solution that will give residents a false sense of security. At worst, it takes away resources that could be focused on all dangerous dogs and invites lawsuits to the city. And I guess if that's one thing that hasn't really been mentioned yet that I might be able to add, that I'm amazed that cities still look at pit bull ordinances and breed-specific ordinances, given the case law that is out there from the Massachusetts SJC. And I think it's, I know there are efforts in Boston. I've been part of some of the talks and to challenge it. And I think it's just lucky that Boston's ordinance has not been challenged. And I know this pit bull ordinance is based on that. And I would seriously, you know, I question why cities and towns go this route for many reasons, but if one thing that I could add is that there's a good likelihood that someone's going to challenge it on some of the grounds that the Supreme Judicial Court has already determined are problematic with breed-specific ordinances. So thank you for allowing me to speak here today, and again, I encourage you to keep and enforce the comprehensive dangerous dog ordinance, and as Mike said, MSPCA would be happy to help in any way to do that and to help your citizens be as safe as they possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the City Council of Lowell, my name is Lieutenant Alan Borgel. I'm with the Animal Rescue of Boston. I have to use my business address. I'm a police officer. I don't want to give my home address out. I have a lot of enemies actually here in Lowell. The best pit bull tape for dog fighting that I have is actually from former Captain Chauncey Norman. One of the detectives actually discovered a tape up here. One of the people in the tape is a guy named Joe Noe, N-O-E. If you go on Operation Roadkill in the state police, if you look at Federal District Attorney's website, you'll see that Joe Noe was past president of the Outlaws, and they're certainly fighting with the Hells Angels. So there was very much gang activity up here. We had a task force that we put together, Chauncey Norman and obviously former Chief Ed Davis, who's now, thank you, he's in Boston. I like him, so I think he's doing a very good job. We did Operation Dog Tag up here, and we actually, some years ago, and we ended up, I remember discovering a guy with pit bulls and gang activity and seizing a Tech 9 machine gun. So people are going to use these types of dogs. They're going to use any dog. What happened in Boston is the gang members figured, look, they use strike force. I have a pit bull, the police show up. I have so if I have a pit bull type dog, many of the dogs we seize in Operation Dog Tag were not pit bull dogs at all. Dr. Amy Marder actually runs the Center for Shelter Dogs for the Animal Rescue League of Boston. She's a board-eligible veterinary behaviorist, and again, looks at my law enforcement cases. The 32 dogs that we just seized in New Bedford, we're finding out that many of these dogs are not pit bulls. They're so mixed. On a legal aspect, and I have great respect for the city of Lowell. I really enjoyed my time up here with Chauncey Norman, and he's a great mentor, and so was Ed Davis. And all the police officers that I work for, what we put together in that task force was a community policing task force. The best part of your ordinance, it says that the police will work with the animal control officers. We're doing Operation Dog Safe, that we call it now, in Fitchburg. We spent 2.5 years up there, solved what they call a Cleghorn, which federal money just poured into the Cleghorn area due to gang activity. And as soon as we got everything set and we got all these vicious dogs under control, they fired the dog officer. Now she's back again. We're starting back up. So what a shame. On a legal end of it, believe me, you cannot take this to the street. I know Eddie Patnute. I believe he's still your animal control officer. This is so complicated. Our attorney, who is an animal welfare attorney, looked at this. He could attack this. He's got 21 years experience with me. There's attorneys around the country that are suing police for shooting dogs during drug raids. I work with Essex County Drug Task Force. I work with Suffolk County. We go in and take the dogs out so the police are not put in a position they have to shoot a dog. You have to remember that the Hells Angels in California sued the municipality and won $900,000 for the police shooting their dogs on an entry. So I really caution you. There's a lot of stuff in here that the animal control officer will do an investigation. You know, you need a search warrant. They're not unless they're special police officers and have been trained to write search warrants, I would caution that further. I don't know, lots of times you get legal consent, lots of times you don't. What happens with a lot of these ordinances, judges look at these and they go right back to Chapter 140, Section 157. Because you have no due process in this. There is an appeals section, but it actually supersedes state law. So, and I don't want to bore you, but I will tell you that this, I could, page by page by page, any good attorney could attack this. And I'll tell you, I doubt that most police officers in Lowell, and I doubt most of the animal control officers in the state, could hold up under cross-examination on this statute trying to defend it. There is a section here about police shooting dogs, and I'll tell you, I've gone around the Commonwealth protecting police officers that have had to shoot dogs in dangerous situations. And this is almost encouraging that just because it's a gang activity and it should be a legal gaming activity. So I do caution that this is really poorly written. There's a lot of stuff in the internet that this seems to be, someone just grabs a paragraph and they think this is going to work. And I'm a city animal inspector in Boston by appointment, and I was the city of Boston animal inspector, and I ran the program for 25 years. So there's not too many things I don't know about Boston. Why has Boston, Operation Dog Tag did a great thing there, and we also offered in other communities. But I will tell you, we have the two largest humane societies in the country here in Boston. and we do a lot of work in the city. So I encourage you, Lowell Humane Society, I think, has got some financial trouble. It's very important that you save humane societies in your community.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I think the chair has given everyone an opportunity to voice their opinion. Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone else who would like to come to the podium in opposition? If not, this public hearing is closed. I believe Councilor James Milanazzo, Chairman of the Public Safety Subcommittee, convened a meeting. And Councilor, if you'd like to give us a report.
I will, Mr. Mayor, and thank you. I too want to thank those that turned out this evening to speak on the issue before us regarding the pit bull ordinance. We did have a public safety subcommittee meeting last week where Councilor Kazanjian and Councilor Elliott and myself met with Assistant City Solicitor David Fenton, and the dog officer was here as well. And we did have representatives from MSPCA, Lowell Unleashed, and others who actually spoke with the subcommittee. It was the recommendation of the subcommittee to recommend, with amendments, that the council approve the ordinance before you. So that is my obligation as chairman of the subcommittee to report that back to the council. So that is the report of the subcommittee that we did vote that evening to recommend to the council. So that is the report of the subcommittee.
Okay.
If I could now, in light of the fact of the testimony that I heard this evening, and I did bring up at the subcommittee meeting the issue of the pit bulls needing to be muzzled, and that I did have an issue, although based upon the issue of public safety being more paramount, that I did go along with my colleagues and supported the vote to recommend to the full council. However, I'm a firm believer in if we need to put something in a better light, if you will, that we may need more time to do so. So we've had a number of offers from experts this evening to say that they would sit down and talk and meet with the city council. So again, I'd be one that would be certainly willing to do that. I expressed that the night of the subcommittee meeting. So again, I would not be against delaying this until such time as we could meet with representatives of the various groups that mentioned that they would be willing to meet. I would certainly, if my colleagues agree, bring it back to the Public Safety Subcommittee in the future and meet with the experts that are here this evening to help us craft a piece of legislation or an ordinance that will truly work. Because in the end, for me, it was all about public safety. And I really think that from the standpoint of having something that does work, giving the potentially dangerous ordinance that we did pass in December a little bit of time to see if that in fact does work as well. I would suggest, even though, and again, I'm just one member of the subcommittee, even though the subcommittee last week did recommend to the council to support this, I think in light of what we heard this evening, again, I've been a city councilor for 6 years, and I've not seen a public hearing as well attended as this one. So again, I congratulate those that did come out, and again, I would move that we delay action until such time as we can actually work with the groups here to come back with, again, it may not change much, but it may change enough that we feel as though we've done, from the standpoint of public safety, what's in the best interest of the citizens of Lowell.
Motion by Councilor Milanazzo to move to delay action on this order, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia. Any discussion?
I just have a question.
Yes.
This is to delay subject to further negotiations
Further
of all parties
negotiations
involved in order to,
right.
Okay. As long as it's going to be a continuing
And I think it'd be
effort.
wise if the
Okay.
council did meet with the experts and so forth to sit down and...
I support the delay based on the fact that there's going to be a continuing dialogue with the people concerned.
Yes. Councilor Rita Mercia and Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a perfect example of people who watch a council meeting and say, these people come in there, these councilors, with their minds made up. They already know what they're going to do. It doesn't matter if we come before the podium or not and say what we have to say. They're already set in what they think. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I was coming here tonight with a little bit of skepticism to say, I'm supporting this ordinance. I'm not going to, I think, I'm kind of afraid of pit bulls. I love animals, but I'm a little bit afraid of them. I'm not going to deny that. But listening to these people here tonight, it just let your mind open up to hear that, you know, a lot of things they said made sense to me. First of all, we as a council sit here and we have recommendations and things before us, and when it comes to a zoning issue, we have professionals that come here that know the zoning rules and stuff. I'm not here representing the city as a professional in the zoning field. I don't know two things about that, but I listen to professionals that speak, and I make a determination based on what all the things are in front of me. Same way with the planning board. I've never been on the planning board, but we deal with issues that we're not professionals in, but we take everything in to try to make the best recommendation. And I think what Councilor Milanazzo said was the best recommendation, because when I heard people come to the podium and say, "You're really not professionals," we're really not. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not from the MSPCA. I'm not even an owner of a pit bull. I'm not an animal control inspector, but I will tell you, I was the owner of a vicious dog. I'm going to tell you what happened. I stole a dog because he was being abused. I know, I couldn't resist to take this dog because he was being brought
that
down.
in the minutes, Mr. Clerk.
He was being brought down to the ocean and had his head held underneath the water to see how long he could hold his breath. And I couldn't believe that little kids would hurt a dog like that. So I actually stole the dog and had second thoughts about it and went to the owner and said, "I think I want to take your dog. Your kids are abusing it." And the lady said, "Go right ahead." That dog to that day hated children because he couldn't differentiate who was the kids that were holding his head down. So for 13 years that I owned that vicious dog, he loved my children, he loved adults, but he hated kids. I had to be a responsible owner and make sure that I could not keep this dog near children. It was as simple as that. It was a difficult task for 13 years. He wasn't a pit bull, he was a vicious dog. And every time I brought him to the vet, he was a fear biter. He would have bit your arm off. He ripped everybody apart in the Belvedere Animal Hospital to the point where I had to call ahead, have the dog sit in my lap, the vet come out and shot him with a shot, and that was the extent of his thing. I had to put a muzzle on him, and that is very fearful because his tongue turned purple. I have compassion for the people here, and I'm glad that we're going to delay it. I think a vicious dog is a vicious dog, no matter if it's a pit bull or a poodle. If they bite me, they bite me. I don't care what type of a dog it is. But so I'm just thinking that we ought to punish those irresponsible people, no matter if they own a poodle or a Doberman Pinscher or a pit bull. We have a vicious, violent, dangerous dog ordinance that we can retool with the help of very important people that know what should be there and what should not be. So that's the extent of it, and I just want to say thank you for all coming down. I appreciate it.
Council Bill Martin.
Well, let's see how I follow that.
Yeah.
I never stole a dog. I never owned a vicious dog. I've never owned any dog. And I think my friends and family would not call me a dog lover. Although since my association with Lowell Unleashed, I'm at least a lover of dog lovers. And I do appreciate the efforts of the folks that came down here tonight, both from the city and from places pretty far away from the city. I think it shows their passion for this issue. And I want to thank them for their efforts. I think they've shed some light on this. I want to also acknowledge the work of the subcommittee and the work of the law department on this, because I know quite a bit of thought and study has gone into this already. It may not be, the breed-specific legislation may or may not be the way to go, but one thing that did come out of this is the vicious dog ordinance, which will remain in place. Correct, Mr. Mayor? That was adopted already. So we will have at least a period of time, if this is going to be delayed, and I do support the delay, to study the effectiveness of that ordinance, and maybe the net result will be some improvements to that. So, you know, sometimes it takes this type of hearing. I know I was one to cut short the discussion at the last meeting, saying we'd have plenty of chance to discuss this tonight, and I guess we did. But again, I think a lot of people deserve credit for making their views known. It's not always the easiest thing to do, especially for those people who don't usually speak in public. So thanks for the folks who enlightened us tonight, but also I want to acknowledge the work of the staff here that's gone in to date.
Anyone else? Council Lindsay and Council Kazanjian?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this was surely a very enlightening conversation, and I learned a lot tonight. The young lady from Lowell Unleashed mentioned that they would go above and beyond to help educate, and there were several articles in the newspaper this week about an outbreak of salmonella, and it's in the food industry, you have to take a course, Serve Safe, where in order to serve chicken, you know what temperature to cook it at and so on and so forth. I think that what some of the conversations we're leading into is that probably the owners of the pit bulls or breeds close to it should be educated. There should be a certificate that they might have to attain in order to own a dog that falls into that category. So I think there are, you know, some other answers and avenues that we can go down. I thought this was a very enlightening conversation, and I also miss Eddie Davis and think he did a great job in Lowell and is doing a great job in Boston. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Council Lindsay. Council Kazanjian?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I also want to thank the Law Department. I think they did a great job. And the subcommittee, we voted in favor for this ordinance, and we did. Councilor Elliott and Councilor Melanazzo and myself said we would sit down with the professionals and see if we can change things around. And I think they did a great job tonight and enlightened me a lot. And I'm willing to change my view and sit down with these professionals and experts and see what they have to offer. And I was just disturbed by one individual threatening us as far as he was a voter, and that's not the reason why I'm changing my mind. I'm sure that's not the reason why my colleagues are changing their mind, and it was just the experts that were here and listening to them, and they're the ones who changed my mind and enlightened me on what is happening with the dogs, and it didn't work in different parts of the state. Thank you. Thank you.
I agree with you, Councilor Kazanjian. Anyone else like to offer any discussion? Before I take a roll call vote on the delay, first of all, I personally want to thank Solicitor David Fenton for authoring this amendment to this ordinance. It wasn't put together haphazardly. He's a very intelligent, dedicated city solicitor. David, I want to thank you for that. I want to also thank the subcommittee for diligently addressing this issue. Ladies and gentlemen, this is democracy before you. We have spent an hour discussing this. Everyone has had a chance to go to the podium and offer their views, whether you were for it or against it. This council, this mayor, this administration want to protect the residents who live in this city. We do not want to see a vicious attack by a vicious dog on a child or an elderly person or anyone. We don't want to see that happen. I'm enlightened to the fact that Leashed and Lowell, if I pronounce that right? Lowell Unleashed, and other professionals who are willing to come forward and maybe collaboratively we can work together and come up with something that's workable. But the most important issue here is we want to protect the residents in our city. Now, there were a few people who went to that podium who live in Boston. Boston has a pit bull ordinance. And part of that ordinance is people have to have a plate on their home indicating that a pit bull resides there. And I think when you talk to a police officer, when they go into a home, they don't know what's behind that door. And in many instances, there's a vicious dog waiting for them. So we're trying to protect the police as well. So, yes, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I just wanted to weigh in a little bit because I was a member of the subcommittee that met last week. And we had a spirited discussion, and I was part of that. And I guess my concern, and it was mentioned on more than one occasion by probably most of the speakers tonight, and it's not these folks here, as they have mentioned on more than one occasion. It's the irresponsible dog owners that we're targeting here. And I appreciate they coming down, and I think they have shed a lot of information, as we did last week. And you know, my opposition is, I mean, my support of this is not for the people that are taking care of the dogs. I mean, those are the folks that we're not seeing. And if you look through many of these instances or attacks that have taken place, you know, you can only presume it's for those individuals that don't have them on a leash or they're not being properly restrained. I mean, I have a dog. I have a small little dog. Some people are just afraid of dogs, never mind pit bulls. So I think it is education. I think it makes sense to go back and take another look at it. I thought about it for the week and said, you know what, if I'm a responsible owner, why should I be penalized? And unfortunately, this does penalize those responsible owners. And it's the irresponsible that we should be penalizing. My fear, as it was last week, is what will happen if we have one more instance. So maybe these folks can come up with some other ideas. I'm a member of Lowell Unleashed, and it's a great organization, and it's great that you're offering your help, and we'll take you up on it because we're about compromise, and we put this in place because of what was taking place in the community. So we have to respond in some manner, and we are reacting, you're right, because it is a public safety issue. So let's go back to the drawing board and see if we can come up with something better that doesn't penalize good dog owners, and does have some teeth and the ability to go after those people in the community. There's 280 pit bull owners, or those that are classified as pit bull owners in the city. We can only imagine how many are not. They're ending up at the Wignall Hospital. So I'm willing to support this and meet again and come back with something that's more enforceable and more reasonable to everybody that lives in the city, owner or not. Thank you.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. I think it's the wise thing to delay it and look at it again with some of the experts that came forward. I do want to commend the subcommittee and the people that have been participating, but also Attorney Fenton, who got some shots tonight for the ordinance that was prepared, but I think you did a wonderful job, and I think you did what we asked you to do and took our ideas and our thoughts and put it in ordinance form. And I think we can now revisit that maybe if things need to be tweaked. But I commend you for your work as usual. I think you did a good job. Thank you.
Yes. Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one other thing. Once again, the young lady from Lowell Unleashed did mention that she would not support the pit bull ordinance at this time, and I was just wondering, that was kind of an interesting way to end the sentence, and it's up for interpretation, but at this time, and I wasn't sure if that meant, you would if there were more attacks, or I don't, if you could just clarify that statement.
Just in its current state, with the amendments that were currently in place, we weren't willing to accept the ordinance without further discussion on developments or input from us as an organization, how we can help with the dangerous dogs ordinance, and then whether it's further enforcement of the leash law and holding accountable irresponsible dog owners. That's what we do. We don't want to completely discount the efforts of council and the city council, the subcommittee, in saying that we absolutely, unequivocally, unreleased. We wanted to just take the discussion.
Okay, so other modifications. Okay, great. Thank you.
I personally would like to thank everyone for being here this evening. This has certainly brought a lot of attention to the issue, and I want to thank Lowell Unleashed and Karen Palmero. You gave a great presentation, and it was nice listening to you, and everyone else did as well. But the council, the mayor, the administration is willing to delay and work with you to come up with something that's sensible, not only for the dog, but for the people who might be attacked by those vicious dogs. Thank you for being here. Roll call on the delay, please.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Delayed. Yes, delayed.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. We'll be in touch with you.
Just ask if you can take something out of it.
Members of the council, if we can, getting back to the agenda. Getting back to the agenda. Motion to take an article out of order by Councilor Kazandrian, second by Councilor Broderick. All in favor of taking an article out of order? The article is authorizing the City of Lowell to petition the legislature for authority to restore Lowell's governmentally involved housing protection. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia, second reading by title, authorizing the City of Lowell to petition the legislature for authority to restore Lowell's governmentally involved housing protection. Any discussion, debate, any issues? This has to be brought down to the State House for vote tomorrow. Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Moving on with the agenda. Mayor Edward Caulfield, members of the City Council, regarding Lowell Historic Board notice of reappointments, request for confirmation. Dear Mayor Caulfield, members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Section 5A of Chapter 566 of the Acts of 1983, I have reappointed effective March 1st, 2009, the following persons to the Lowell Historic Board. 1, Taya Dixon Mullane, South Loring Street, Lowell, Mass. Second is Richard Lockhart, 91 Beacon Street, Lowell, Mass. Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $7,500 for Allied Waste Services of Massachusetts LLC to be used for the purpose of promoting an automated solid waste collection system through the Bin Independence Day campaign. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Lindsay, seconded by Councilor Kazandrian. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $7,500 from Allied Waste Services of Massachusetts LLC to be used for the purpose of promoting the automated solid waste collection system through the Bin Independence Day campaign. Any discussion or debate? If not, roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $500 from Comcast to be used for costs and expenses associated with the holiday reception at the Senior Center. Whereas Comcast wishes to donate a gift of $500 to be used toward the holiday reception at the Senior Center, and whereas the City of Lowell desires to accept the gift of $500 to be toward the holiday reception. Now therefore be it voted that the city manager be and he is hereby authorized in the name of the City of Lowell to accept the gift of $500 to be used for costs and expenses associated with the holiday reception that was held on December 14th, 2008 at the Senior Center pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially extend the gratitude of the City of Lowell to Comcast for their generosity displayed through their donation of the aforesaid funds to the City of Lowell. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of $500 from Comcast to be used for costs and expenses associated with the holiday reception at the Senior Center. Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Present.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 present. Sorry.
Moving on with the agenda, authorizing the city manager acting through the Division of Planning and Development to apply for, accept, and expend a grant in the total amount of $75,000 from the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development Gateway Plus Action Grant Program. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager acting through the Division of Planning and Development to apply for, accept, and expend a grant in the total amount of $75,000 from the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development Gateway Plus Action Grant Program. Any discussion or debate on this particular? Councilor Elliott.
Just a quick question. Mr. Manager, is this a matching grant? I'm concerned that we won't be.
No, this is not a matching
I
grant,
didn't see it in
Counselor.
here, so
No.
that it wasn't matching, so I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to enter a lease agreement with Fortune Wakefield LLC, Farley White Management Company LLC, with a principal place of business at 155 Federal Street, Suite 1800, Boston, Mass. 02110 for property located at 660 Suffolk Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Rita Mercia, seconded by Council Milonazo. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to enter a lease agreement with Fortune Wakefield LLC, Farley White Management Company LLC, with the principal place of business at 155 Federal Street, Suite 1800, Boston, Mass. 02110 for property located at 660 Suffolk Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Any discussion? Council Kazanjian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the city manager. Is this a Lowell Police Department? Is this something, we don't have any room in the police station, is that correct? Do we have any?
That is correct.
Do we have any city facility that we can use instead of paying rent for somewhere else?
This is, we haven't been able to locate any, the retrofit to move into some of the old vacant school buildings or vacant fire stations would be far more expensive than the space that this basically covers just the utility costs associated with the space that we have. This has been a lease that's been in place for a good number of years now, and as I say, it essentially just covers the utility costs, which obviously we'd have to cover if we were moving into another facility here in the city that's currently vacant, as well as the fit-up cost to move into that space.
Well, I mean, when things are good, that's fine, but things aren't that good, so, I mean, whatever we can save here, I know it's not an awful lot of money, but whatever we can save would be a benefit to the city as, these tough economic times.
Right. Again,
what do we have? Do we have any facility available? The Smith Baker Center, is that empty, or?
The Smith Baker Center is empty, but again, the fit-up cost to move this facility into that space and then to keep the utilities on over there would far exceed this number. This is to heat that building is considerably more expensive than this type of rent.
No, do we have to heat the whole building? Can we put a separate zone in there that makes up just a small area? I think it's, 2,000 square feet?
again, it's really nothing that we've been able to identify, the police have been able to identify. I'd certainly, if the council so wishes, I'd be happy to, you know, if you want to put this on hold, I'd be happy to go back and work with the police chief to see if there's any other options. But the sense is that this is a premium space, that we get it just for the cost of the utilities. It serves a purpose too for some of the putting a police presence in that general area, and again, it's just basically covering the utility costs. It's not anything beyond that.
Yeah, but it's basically almost $1,000 a month, so it's what, $880 a month, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, I personally would like to put it off. I know that's not an awful lot of money, but like I said, every nickel we can save or any penny we can save right now is going to be a big plus. Because right now the lease is over, paying by month, is that correct?
That's correct.
Right, so I mean, to wait another month is not going to hurt. And this way here we can put a little extra effort and see if we can find a facility that we can move in there, and then it's permanent. And we don't have to keep paying this monthly fee.
Again, Counselor, if that's what the council so chooses, they can take that vote. But I can't stress enough that if we take 2,000 square feet and we move it into another building, we don't have just 2,000 square feet somewhere. We'd have to open up another building, which would the utility costs for that would far exceed this type of money. But by all means, if you would like to delay this,
we put it in one of the old firehouses. I know we have Oakland Square up there, and we have Mammoth Road. There, can we share the area with the police or with the fire?
I'd be happy to look into that.
Okay.
Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Broderick.
I sort of had the same concerns, Mr. Manager, and I appreciate your explanation because those are some of the questions I was going to ask. And I know we're trying to keep services as is, but looking, you know, as I know you do and your staff does every day, the news about the economy and state revenues and local aid, and which is one of the reasons why I filed the motion a little bit later, continues to get, worse. And I'm looking to see, we've got to try to start doing things differently. And unfortunately, some of these leases are going to come into play, and I think we're going to be looking for every single nickel. Maybe there's not another solution, but maybe there is when we look in, and some of the other police substations too. I know we have a lot of leases, we spend a lot of money, and we're going to get to the point where we're doing substations, or we're doing police officers, or we're doing, leases, or, other employees. So if you can come back and take another look at it, I think it makes sense, only looking at, what you mentioned earlier about local aid cuts. I mean, I don't know where. I mean, we're going to have to find it somewhere, and next year is another issue. So I think it makes sense to take another look at this, and maybe there isn't. How many 2,000 square feet? How many employees? How many? What do we support in this? It's a crime analysis unit.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you on that, Counselor. And again,
Okay.
I go back to my comments earlier. No one. With all due respect to the council, no one here is more conscious of the financial situation here, or maybe Mr. Moses, of the financial situation facing the city and the steps that we need to take. Again, we look at all of these on a cost-benefit analysis and manner, and the cost of renovating space, putting and moving someone in there and then paying the same amount of money that we're paying here for utilities, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, just so that we can say that we're not paying someone else. But we're more than happy to go back and take another look at that.
No, I know you are, Mr. Manager, and you're probably as aware as all of us here. We have some drastic. I hate to say drastic to be that emphatic, but we have some serious,
Absolutely.
issues and cuts to make as we come forward, this year, and even clearly next year. The messages have been given loud and clear. So, in any event, I understand your point, but maybe we should take another look.
We'll
at
come
some
back
of
with a
these
report
things.
if the council so votes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Broderick, and then
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
Mayor.
Malinowski.
To me, it looks like we're getting this, as we had a couple other substations for no rent, but we pay the utilities, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. But I think that maybe it makes sense under the conditions and the circumstances. If people have questions, it probably my suggestion would be to ask the chief or whomever came up. It looks like the police department sent out the request for proposals, so in terms of how many officers, why we don't have space now, where they've been, and why they need this space or different space, if that's the case, it probably makes sense that we, can get some of that information as we go forward. If in fact we're going to be looking at some consolidation down the road, I don't know, but perhaps it would be helpful to have the chief or some representative come in and explain that. Thank you.
Council Milonazo, then Council Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can understand why my colleagues are looking to get more information, and I will certainly, as a courtesy, support putting this off and getting more information. But I just want to say, and they probably are aware, that the owners of the building, they're very good corporate residents in Lowell. They belong to a number of nonprofit groups like the Chamber of Commerce and the Lowell Plan and the like, and they are one of the first businesses, if you will, to step up when the city is in need of anything. So I just wanted to say that they've done a very good job over there at 660 Suffolk Street. They continue to bring in quality tenants, and then at the same time, they are very much involved in economic development activities in the city, be it, as I mentioned, involved in groups like the Lowell Plan and other groups. So, again, I can understand why we want to revisit this, but again, at $3.77 a square foot, I don't know where in the city that we're going to be able to, even if we use our own space, be able to get that kind of cost, if you will, because of the fact that we would then obviously again be paying utilities in any building that we actually might own. But again, out of respect for those that are looking for more information in the spirit of the economic crisis that we are now going through, I'll be happy to support the delay. But again, I just want it to be said that they're very good corporate citizens.
Council Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councilor Milonazo, but the buildings in the city, for instance, what came to mind when Councilor Kazanja mentioned the firehouse or something, is that firehouse across from Shed Park. I mean, there must be something that we can use it for or put in there, and it's been vacant for literally years.
Actually, the fire station across from Shed Park is used by the fire department for its training facility.
So they do have training there on a regular basis?
Full-time basis.
Okay, because I just never see anybody there for the most part.
Inside training.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Kazanja.
Thank you. I've been in the one on Mammoth Road where fire prevention is, and that downstairs is not being used at all. So I know, and the utilities are still on, heat, lights, all that stuff is being used. So if we can combine the two and save ourselves a few dollars, I think that's just what we're trying to do.
I know that one of the issues that we're looking at there, specifically to Mammoth, is looking at actually moving the fire prevention out into some other space, perhaps up on at the facility across from Shed, to squeeze them in there, or some other option, so that we can then mothball that building.
Is that gonna happen anytime soon?
That's something we're looking at for the next budget year.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion to delay by Councilor Kazanja, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of delaying this particular article, signify by saying aye. And it's delayed. Mr. Manager, at the next council meeting, you might have a report for the council.
I will. Council.
Okay, thank you. Moving on with the agenda. This will be going to a public hearing, an ordinance amending the new code of ordinances for the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, the code with respect to chapter 266 thereof, entitled Vehicles and Traffic. Public hearing will be held January 27th, and the council wishes. Move to send to a public hearing by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rita Mercia. The next article on the agenda is an ordinance amending the new code of ordinances of the city of Lowell, Massachusetts, the code by amending chapter 56, personal article 5, residency requirements, subsection 56-30. That also will be going to a public hearing January 27th. Motion to send to public hearing by Councilor Lindsay, second by Councilor Kazanjian. And if I could ask for suspension of the rules, motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor of the suspension, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The suspensions are in order. And what's before us, members of the council, is a resolution in support of an act exempting cities and towns from certain fees from the Department of Environmental Protection, DEP. The act provides certain amendments to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 21E, Section 3B, which if passed would have the effect of waiving certain fees owed by cities and towns to DEP through its annual billing. Now therefore be it voted by the City Council of the City of Lowell to support an act exempting cities and towns from certain fees by amending Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 21E, Section 3B. Attached is the proposed act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 21E, Section 3B, that this resolution adopted by the vote of the City Council of Lowell on the day of January 13th, 2009. Motion to adopt this resolution and move it forward by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Elliott. All in favor, signify by saying aye. The roll call? Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Yeah. And before we move on to the subcommittee reports and so forth, I would ask the council, at the last meeting, the council voted for an out-of-state travel, and the vote was for 1 police officer, and actually it was for 2. So I'm asking if you could amend that vote from 1 out-of-state travel to 2. In a motion presented by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Kazanjian. All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Yes, Council Elliott.
Mayor, could I just ask, how is that being paid for? How was the last one? I can't recall.
I believe that's coming out of the Law Enforcement
Trust Fund?
Trust Fund.
It's just an amendment for to correct the minutes of the meeting and make sure we're, why don't we take a roll call vote on that? Roll call.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Anything else on the agenda, Mr. Clerk? Subcommittee reports. Council Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, the 6th, we had a zoning subcommittee meeting. In attendance was Councilor Milonazo, Councilor Kazanjian, Councilor Elliott, and myself to take up or continue with the form-based zoning code. Hopefully everybody has a copy by now. It's 108 pages, so I'll try and just touch on a couple highlights. And the main highlight is that we decided to continue it, to come back to a date to be determined after the meeting tonight for a question and answer session. It's quite lengthy, so that we thought it would be more expedient to try to get at what questions we might have. The draft lays out the entire code. At present, they're meeting with outside counsel to review some of the legal nuances. I'm waiting, I think, still waiting to get a final approval from the city engineer as far as approval of street and sidewalk specs and other aspects that will go to the engineer's department. Essentially, one of the major changes is there will not be any planning board review, no site plan review. This code, as it's finalized, will be controlling, including all diagrams. Essentially, it's loaded with information. I would encourage everybody, if they can, to come to the next subcommittee meeting to ask questions, as well as the public, if they're inclined to so attend. Thank you.
That subcommittee meeting is next Tuesday, Council?
Well, there's, I believe, 3 other subcommittees on next Tuesday, so
Oh, okay.
I think we're going to get together after this meeting and try and select a date.
Okay. Accept the report as report of progress by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Lindsay. All in favor of accepting the report and placing on file, signify by saying aye. Report has been accepted, placed on file. Any other subcommittee reports? Okay. Department of Public Works, Division of Streets and Highways, and Superintendent of Wires, National Grid. Accept the report and adopt accompanying orders by Council Martin, seconded by Council Lindsay. Department of Public Works, Division of Streets and Highways, the Superintendent of Wires, National Grid, and Verizon, 524 Chester Street, 1 pole location. I believe that's going to a public, is that going to, accept report and adopt the accompanying orders by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. Oops. We have a request from Celia Rivera, 129 Westford Street. Request for a handicap parking sign, refer it to the traffic engineer by Councilor Arman Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I could amend these next two petitions for a handicap parking sign and request that they become a 60-day trial for the purpose of speeding this up. One of them involves a child, and I think it would be wise on our part if we could make them both a 60-day trial. Could we do that?
Is that the one in Centerville where the child was injured by a car?
I believe this little boy needs to have that. I don't know the specifics,
We
but
brought that up a
it's
month
the
or so.
the next one that you're going to read. I don't know the incident, but I did read the request, and it seemed like we should do a 60-day trial on them.
Okay, let me read it. A petition from Anita Santiago for Andrew Boley, 74 West 3rd Street, Lowell, Mass. Requests a handicap parking sign. Refer it to the traffic engineer and Council Mercy. You'd like to put that on a 60-day?
For the both of them, to be fair.
both of them?
Thank you.
All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. It was seconded by Council Kazanjian. Mr. Manager, could we see if we can make that happen, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And we have 6 claims referred to the Law Department by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Lindsay. We are now into the motions. It's been a long night, believe me. And let's see if we can address these motions and do it as nice as we can. Motion by Council Elliott. City Council requests the city manager report on the fiscal 2009 budget to date, seconded by Council Kazanjian.
Well, I think we've had some discussions already, Mr. Manager, on FY09. Clearly, we received the report from you at the request of the Finance Subcommittee on positions that have not been filled this fiscal year, and you spoke of it earlier. And I just want to clarify, this fiscal year alone, we're looking at 11 positions that haven't been filled, and you haven't filled requisitions for 57,000. So it's closer to 430,000 that in savings at this point in time of year. And you did mention at the Finance Subcommittee meeting that you'll also provide what we saved last year, which was 603,000. So at this point, we're looking at 430, that 430,000 that you haven't, that we've saved. I guess right off the bat, I'd like to ask, how many positions have we filled since the beginning of this fiscal year, either through vacancies, retirements, or and in the meantime,
You know, that's, if I could just, we're just checking on one bit of information here. These just from November, or are these before that? Okay. Right. We've, it's hard to say exactly how many, Counselor. I can tell you that we've hired 5 people over the last 4 or 5 months. We hired a school health nurse. We hired a part-time traffic supervisor at the police department. We have the part-time solid waste techs that we've all talked about, that we see as being crucial to the implementation of that new the new trash program that the council adopted. And we did interview we are hiring a full-time public safety dispatcher. And that's really it. We have other positions that are still being reviewed, but those are the like a public safety part-time public safety dispatcher. Some of the other ones we've placed on hold. They don't necessarily show up in this list, and we haven't made quite a decision yet on that. But as you can see, out of the total personnel of the city, we've not filled positions, and the positions that we have filled have really been for specific purposes that may seem to make sense to the city.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Manager. And I did ask during the week, or after I filed a motion to get an update, because Finance Subcommittee, we met several weeks ago, if it wasn't maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, and like all of us, I continue to just be very nervous and really anxious when, particularly when I read in the Globe today, or as well when last week the governor saying that we are now, local aid essentially is off the table, and communities need to prepare for additional cuts, which we did speak of in the past. So, and then we get reports. I get a report on electricity usage, fuel usage, depending upon the severity of the winter or, utilization rates. I mean, we're looking at transfers. I guess I looked at, when I looked at the year-to-date report, departments continue, or what seems to continue is that we're spending at sort of a consistent rate that we have been in the past. And just myself personally, I'm wondering, what actions, are you going to put in place? I mean, without a doubt, we're looking at local aid cuts. And I don't know if you have any more information, Mr. Manager, from the governor's office, or if you've spoken to, the delegation. You mentioned you spoke to the delegation where we're at, but I did see that, in today's Globe, Boston's looking at $140 million deficit.
For fiscal year 10.
For fiscal year 10, right, but they're looking at a $62.7 million reduction in local aid. Do we have any indication where we are at with local aid? Have you had any communications with anybody? Because that clearly is a direct message that we are going to take a hit this year, and we're 50% through the fiscal year. Departments, on the average, have spent 50% of their budgets, and I personally think that we need to, I know we can't put a freeze on, but I think we have to take some pretty significant measures, to slow spending, and unless they're absolutely necessary. And I'm not saying that you don't disagree, Mr. Manager. I'm just looking at this report, and what are your plans? Folks on the street are asking me. They're asking our colleagues. I'm sure they're asking you. What's going to take place? Employees are nervous. So when we look at things like the lease tonight, as much as it is important and it's a benefit, I'd rather save jobs than lease. And if we have to consolidate and people have to, I'm sure they prefer to have their job rather than, they need a place to work, don't get me wrong. But, these are the things that we have to start thinking outside of the box. That's my concern. That's the nature of my motion. Maybe you and Mr. Moses, I'm sure you're thinking about these things. Don't get me wrong. I just feel a need to bring it out and let people know, what are we doing? What are our plans? What are your plans? Considering the nature of the local aid revenue cuts that are coming and how that's going to impact our city and the city budget and jobs. So that's the nature of my motion. And what are your thoughts, Mr. Manager? What's the next step? What are we putting in place, knowing that 9C cuts are essentially coming down the pike?
Well, I think I indicated at the beginning of the meeting, we've been for some time now working on a number of contingency plans of, depending upon the scope of the local aid cuts that may occur. Early on, the reports coming out of the State House were pretty good, that we weren't going to be looking at 9C cuts, that was really last resort, but we were obviously cautious. I know that Mr. Moses and myself, Ms. Wright, have gone through 9C cuts in other communities, and we've looked at local aid cuts and bad economic times on a number of occasions over the last 25 and 30 years that we've been at this. And so you learn to sort of look at this carefully. You take it very, very seriously, and you prepare for it. And we do have a number of, as I said, contingencies that we've been working on. And we are, as I said, we have frozen off the hiring. It's only essential positions that we're moving forward on that seem to make sense for us economically. We have pushed back on a number of different requisitions that we've rejected. There's a number of other requisitions that we have in a status of hold, and we're developing plans to cut back expenses even further. We do actually have the ability to freeze off expense spending in a number of areas, keeping in mind that does have an impact on our ability to provide services. It's difficult to, if we aren't buying the supplies and we aren't buying the materials and equipment, or leasing the equipment, or whatever the case may be, we end up with personnel without the materials or supplies to actually do their job. So it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to have people in those positions just to hold them in those positions. I think we all know that there are a number of needs here in the community with regards to public safety and with regards to the maintenance of our infrastructure and providing social services here in the city. So we do have a number of plans in place. So they will require working with the unions, particularly as it relates to personnel costs. We have been reluctant to go to the unions in any formal way until we have a better handle, because we have to look at this strategically, that the changes that we make this year, any changes that we make this year will have some type of impact upon, positive, certainly on next year, because we won't, we'll be closing up the budget gap, any budget gap this year, and also they could ripple into additional savings for next year. But also from a bargaining standpoint and a cooperative standpoint with our labor unions, if you go to them this year and make changes and somehow raise the notion that we're done now, when in fact we have to go back when we get more information, it tends to be counterproductive to what our goal is. But what you saw there with the savings that we've made so far this year by not filling positions and holding up requisitions, as I said earlier, is only part of the story. We've also there are also other savings that we have there by changes that have taken place, bills that are coming due that, or potential purchases that are coming due that we know of that we're going to hold back on. So the savings we're actually looking at this year from what was budgeted is much closer to $600,000+. So we've got that. We also will be, as I say, looking at some other personnel changes, some restructurings that we've been working on. But those aren't things that happen overnight, and again, you're reluctant to do something only to find that you have to backtrack and then go far beyond that, and you've already expended your negotiating opportunities. So we're as I said, Councilor, in a phone conversation that you and I had earlier today, it would be I think it would be very worthwhile for sometime next week for us to meet with the Finance Subcommittee to go into this in more detail, particularly when we have a greater sense from the state what they're looking at for 9C cuts. And then we have a number of items on the table that we're looking at for next fiscal year of areas that we can cut back further. Make no mistake about it, these are somewhat uncharted territories. I speak of the experiences that the finance team has in handling these matters, but this is very dramatic, and we haven't had a situation like this in a very, very long time, and we're going to continue to develop those plans. It basically I would say the finances and financial planning that's going into this is taking up probably 50+% of our time beyond just the normal operation of the city as we're trying to grapple with this. But I think the track record that we have that's seen by the Department of Revenue's letter, as well as other outside agencies that are looking at what we've done here in the city to get us onto a stable financial footing, gives you some indication, and I would hope, I know it gives members of the public that I speak to, that talk to me, it gives them confidence that we're doing the right things, and I would hope that it would also give the City Council that confidence as well.
Mr. Manager, thank you. I don't discount that you and your staff are not following this and following it very closely. I just need to know, and I think people at home want and need to know, what are we doing? What measures are you and your staff putting in place? What preparations are you making, considering we're 50% through the fiscal year? And these cuts, they have the compounding effect. If it was July 1st, okay, we're going to take a $3 million cut. That's fine. When it's midway through the fiscal year, it has the doubling effect where it's $6 million. And I think we started the year with a rather lean budget to begin with. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, as you've mentioned, it's uncharted territory. We've not gone through this. It's unprecedented. And regrettably, there's no easy solution. And we've got to change the way that business is being done. And I'm happy to meet. The Finance Subcommittee would welcome, I'm sure. I think the last time we had almost every, if not every member at that Finance Subcommittee, because it is the subject matter, and it is concern of everyone. I mean, people at home are changing their lifestyles, businesses are changing their lifestyles, and we need to do that as well, and that's not implying that we're not. I just need to know in this first piece of information on the number of positions we haven't filled, the spending restrictions that you had placed, and I just need to, I look at this year to date and I say, well, we're spending at 50% rate and we're 50% through the fiscal year. Maybe we need to look at a spending freeze.
Well, I think I've already said, that's one thing that we're looking to implement.
Okay.
I think I said that a few minutes ago.
You did, and those are the things that you're looking at. That's good to know. Wage freezes. I just see throughout the Commonwealth, and I'm sure you know your relationships with MMA and ICMA across the country. These are the steps they're taking, and we're not alone in this, and everyone is going through it. So I would welcome that Finance Subcommittee as soon as possible, knowing that these cuts are coming down, and I appreciate the work you and your staff are doing, and it's nerve-wracking for everybody, and employees included. So. Thank you for the information, and whenever you'd like to schedule that meeting,
that'd be great.
Ready to do so. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Kazancha, then Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a great motion, and we did have a subcommittee back maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and we pretty much all attended, and I think the question was asked to Mr. Moses, what is your plan to protect the city and go forward with this new budget? And at the time, he didn't want to tell us, in public, because he thought everybody would be, in uproar, which he had a good point. So if that can't be done, why don't we try to meet in executive session, go over this and with the council and find out what your plan is, and go from there. I mean, because I think it's very, very important. For the last 6 months, we've been saying that we have to cut back, have to cut back, have to cut back. Not saying you're not doing a job, but it doesn't seem that we're cutting back enough. As a business owner, we're watching every penny that comes that we can try to save. I mean, and you could probably talk to any business owner throughout the country is doing the same thing. We're consolidating, and whatever penny, a nickel, a dime, whatever we can save, we're doing that. And I think we should be doing that here in the city. And I just, this past week, it's disturbing to me that I heard we spent $22,000 in a human relations office. Is that something you relate?
That's not true.
It's not true?
No.
Did we refurbish an office?
We refurbished an office. It was put on. It was put in the requisitions several months ago, and we spent about $2,500.
$2,500.
Right.
Okay, that's a far cry from 22,000. Is that something?
It is a far cry.
Is that something we can get a full report on that? What was spent?
Absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great. And I just hope it's not $22,000 in these economic times.
If it's 20, I can tell you that to build up to do the work that was down there, if it cost $22,000, the city of Lowell has bigger problems than we all know of, because there's
absolutely. I heard that. That was, like I said, it was disturbing to me that we spend $22,000 in an office.
We don't
in these bad times. Even good times, I don't think it's
even in good
right.
times, that would be ludicrous to spend.
So right now, it's
if Councilor, if what happened in that particular case is we moved the parking office out of in an effort to consolidate. Because if there's something I've been all about since I've been here, it's been to consolidate and think outside the box and cut costs and make savings. So we consolidated the parking office in with the treasurer's office, thereby freeing up some office space. And unfortunately, we're under very strict mandates from the state and federal government with regards to our personnel records, and they were woefully lacking. All of our personnel records crammed into very tight spaces, and really you couldn't even get them all. So we expanded out into that area, and we essentially put down a carpet, and we built a wall, and we took down a wall. So if if the people in charge of doing that work spend $22,000, then there's a problem with the people that are handling that work. But I'm aware of the rumor that was flying around on this, and I'm not sure where that rumor started, but I did check on it, and I believe it's between $2,500 and $2,900 that was spent on doing that work based upon the input that Commissioner McCarthy, Assistant Manager McCarthy,
So
gave.
where did it come out of DPW, is that correct? DPW did the work? Or?
Yes.
Okay. As long as I get a report and it shows what was spent and how it was spent, that's fine. $2,500 I can live with, but $22,000 I can't.
I would hope.
Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a good motion in light of everything going on with the state economy. But again, looking at the financial team that we have assembled, including the city manager and his experience, I really know at this point we're beyond thinking about what we need to do and starting to put action steps in place, which is what we've heard this evening. My question has to do with the economic stimulus package that hopefully will be coming down, and whether or not you think, Mr. Manager, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but whether or not the economic stimulus package will actually have a positive effect on the 9 C cuts that are before us at this particular point.
Councilor, I think it's an excellent question, and I wish I did have a crystal ball to know that. The hope that I know that has been out there with the state administration and certainly local governments is that the stimulus package that's being proposed by the President-elect would include several $100 billion to be put into infrastructure programs, but also the hope was that some money would be coming to states. The state of Massachusetts, and I don't have the exact number, but a $2 billion bill, a $2 billion bailout, if you will, for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is pretty small change compared to what's gone off to some other firms in Wall Street and so on. That would be go a long way towards solving our budget problems here in the Commonwealth and would keep people employed in local government, certainly, and in state government. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any specific details on that. I've heard about the tax cuts that are being proposed by the Obama administration, as well as the jobs, the infrastructure improvements that are being talked about, and I haven't seen any specifics on that. Now, as recently as this afternoon, I heard that that's still in the works, and it would be included within that, $750, $800 billion stimulus package. But I haven't seen any specifics on that. And the unfortunate thing is that, now what's happening in Washington, there aren't going to be any decisions made until mid-February. At that point, the 9C cuts will have already taken place. And so it's hard to see how that will work out. But we are tracking that very carefully and hoping that does. And I'm sure Governor Patrick is doing that as well. So we'll watch that and see what implications that has for us as well.
Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, you in constant communication with the delegation that this money, the stimulus package money, would come through the governor's office?
Right.
And our delegation would naturally play a role in what we're going to get as a city. What is the line of communication between you and the delegation as anticipated funds? I know there was an article in the Lowell Sun where the money would be spent.
Right.
And to the tune of $216.5 million, and it's itemized. Did this information come from you, or?
Yes, I believe there's a report in your communications on that tonight as well. That came from us based upon a review of the needs that are out there right now in the departments and DPW as well as DPD primarily. And I have been in touch with, discussing this and the overall finances with Senator Pangiotakis. I have had communications with several of the state representatives as well on this, and that's really where some of the numbers are a little fluid. Again, I've heard as low as nothing, and as high as $2.5 to $3 million for 9C cuts. But as far as the stimulus package goes, we have sent that on to the Lieutenant Governor. I believe that has also been sent on to the delegation, but I know we've had discussions with the delegation, particularly with Senator Pangiatakis, and particularly as it relates to the Hamilton Canal project.
But these, where the money would be spent came from?
That came from the city.
From yourself?
Right. Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Council Kazanjian and Council Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, do we have to make this in the form of a motion? Are we going to meet in executive session, or can we talk about this in public at a subcommittee? How?
The only thing you could speak in executive session on is if we were to talk about some of the collective bargaining issues. You couldn't talk about some of the other issues. And I would suggest that we may want to do that coming out of the Finance Subcommittee. Unless you want to go into executive session tonight, I'd be more than happy to tell you basically some of the ideas we have with regards to the, but I am a little leery where I haven't had concrete discussions with the unions as of now, but I'd be more than happy, Councilor, to do that with you tonight.
Well, we don't have to do it tonight, but when do you think you'll be talking to the unions, and we can set something up?
I expect that I'll be talking to the unions.
2 weeks, 4 weeks, or?
I would expect I'll be talking to the unions in the next 7 to 10 days regarding some of these ideas.
Can we make a motion to talk in executive session before the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And I think it'd be wise, we had the solicitor lay out some ground rules,
Right.
so we can say in public
Right.
and what we can. So I
Yep.
think that'd be wise if we did that.
Okay,
So you have a motion, Council?
I'd like to make a motion to speak about the financial issues in executive session with the city manager and.
Have a second? Seconded by Council Lindsay. On the motion, Council Elliott?
Well, I was just going to say, in addition to that, why don't we plan on a meeting? I know there's a number of meetings scheduled for next Tuesday, but if folks can make next Wednesday, is that agreeable to
Right.
members?
We can add that to the, for a public hearing subcommittee also. I mean, is that what you're trying to?
Well, if you have a subcommittee meeting is open to the public, so the
Well,
public is...
we would like to talk about some of it in public. Whatever
Yeah.
we can't talk about in public, we'll meet in executive session.
Definitely.
That's pretty much what I'm trying to get
Yes,
at.
and I think
Okay.
the solicitor will give us, Madam Solicitor?
Well, they want to do it next week.
If the council wanted to hold a hearing, hold a meeting rather, regarding the financial impact coming up, it could simply schedule the meeting, and in the event during the course of the meeting, if there are items that will need to be discussed in executive session at that time, we can then make a motion to go into executive session. We would have to state the reason for the executive session
That's fine.
privilege.
That sounds, okay.
Yep.
That'll work, sure.
So I know there's things that the manager and the council don't want to discuss in public, and I think it'd be
Right.
wise.
Okay.
to have
I
an
understand
executive
that. It's fine.
So we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Council Elliott. Roll call on that motion to go into executive session.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, what exactly is the motion?
To have a finance subcommittee meeting. And then articles that can't be discussed during that public forum, we go into executive session.
But the executive session, I assume, would be after the next regular council meeting for the full body?
You'd have to choose the date. All we're doing
Well,
is,
we can possibly do it that same night we have the subcommittee. Right.
I don't know if everyone will be there, that's why.
I don't
We
think...
try to get everybody there to.
What date would that be?
How can a subcommittee go into executive session?
Well, it should be a meeting of the whole, really.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But this isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about a subcommittee meeting.
Finance subcommittee.
Right.
And I would certainly be here, and I would hope everyone else would be. It's a
Yeah,
very
but
important issue.
I think it has to come back for a vote on the subcommittee meeting and then a full vote to go to executive session. I think that's what we're getting at.
Well, why don't we do it for the next meeting after the subcommittee?
With the full council.
Right.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, for executive session.
Regular council.
Okay.
The
that's-
full
that's-
council.
good.
I'm glad you brought that up, Council. Roll call on the motion.
Councilor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, before I bring up Council Rita Mercer's motion about Barnum Avenue, I would just like to weigh in just a little bit on the budget cuts from the state. Manager Lynch or no one else knows exactly what those cuts are going to be. Governor Patrick is going to announce those cuts, and I've spoken to the Lowell delegation. They don't know. And all I do know is the word out there is brace yourself and tighten your belt. And not only are we going to get cut this fiscal year, but next year, Speaker of the House Sal DeMacy indicated you can expect a 5 or a 10% cut in local aid. So it's, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you, Council.
Finish, that's okay.
But there's some serious cuts coming down, and the reason for that is capital gains, people aren't buying cars, people aren't buying much of anything, so that the state does not have any revenue coming in. And, you know, you can criticize the state, but I certainly won't be one of them, because the state's been very, very good to this city over the decades. The schools, the roads, the bridges, and so forth. The state and the country is going through a tough, tough time. And we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and get through this serious issue. Councilor Martin, I'm sorry
I just wanted to follow up with the manager on the report about the capital projects that was in our packet and delivered, I believe, to the Lieutenant Governor. I think that was at the request of the Governor's office in response to, I think, the President-elect's request for capital projects, specifically things you can build and not necessarily operating money.
That's correct.
Looks like we're going to need long before we need any of this capital money. But I do think the governor is advocating for some capital funds, some operating funds to the states, which may or may not make its way to us. I seriously doubt it would make its way in time for this fiscal year, but perhaps for next. But I think we need to be careful in our mind about capital projects that the federal government may decide to fund and the operating crisis that we're in.
If President-elect Obama follows through and Congress supports him, building the infrastructure from San Francisco or Oregon to Maine, it's going to put a lot of people to work. It's going to bring money into the state, into our city, throughout the country. And I think that's what's going to happen in order to get the city back on its feet. So, Councilor Elliott?
I just want a clarification from the manager. Mr. Manager, earlier in the meeting, did you say you had been in touch with the delegation regarding 9C, or was that something else?
Yes, I have. I've spoken to them about 9C.
Does the chairman of Ways and Means, does he have any general sense of what's coming down?
We talked about some different ideas that are being talked about in terms of 9C and in terms of the local aid cuts for next year. You know, they were just general concepts that were being talked about. Nothing specific at this point in time that they could point to and say this is going to be a definite. So, but it's given us some sense of some numbers to play around with that we're working off of, and that's where I said that, you know, it could be is I had another conversation with another legislator that indicated there wouldn't be any cuts. Well, that would be great. I don't see where that's necessarily going to happen, but then it, you know, could reach 2.5 to 3 million, and the problem we have in the city of Lowell is we are very dependent. You know, when times are good, we do very well by the state, but that means that when times are bad, we take it harder than others. You know, I remember a few years back when the 9C cuts took place under then Governor Romney. You know, we're looking at all of those as sort of a historical perspective to give us some sense of what's going to happen here, and you know, nothing's really clear. But what happened at the time was there was a debate that took place in the Romney administration and local governments that communities that had reserve funds should take a bigger hit than those that didn't. That obviously didn't go over well with communities that had been prudent and had built reserves, and they didn't feel it was appropriate that they took a hit. Then there was a sense that the communities that really should take the bigger hit are the communities that are sitting on excess levy capacity. Needless to say, that didn't go over well with the communities that had worked hard to hold their tax rate down. But what often happened is the communities that were holding their tax rate down were also the communities that were getting the largest amount of local aid. And so that caused some. So there was a lot of policy debate that went back and forth, and that really delayed letting people know what the size of those cuts were going to be. And that's really where we're at now, is trying to understand. And even the mayor's right. The speaker has said 5 to 10%. Now the question becomes, what is 5 to 10% of what? And one of the issues is does it include all of Chapter 70, or does it just include the non-foundation aid Chapter 70? Does it include lottery, which is generally dedicated to cities and towns? Now, what's happened is that the lottery is the last couple of years, after freezing out lottery for a while and not giving the full share to the cities and towns, then what the state did is, in sort of a magnanimous and unusual move, is they started giving more, even though they weren't getting all of the revenue they were anticipating. That's pretty much, I'd say that's definitely on the table, and we're not going to be getting that type of supplemental lottery money this year. Then there are all sorts of other local aid accounts that are in question. For instance, the Quinn bill that we receive for our police educational incentive. They've been funding 50% of that cost forever. And it's, to my knowledge, I think they kind of shorted it a couple times, but generally they've come through with that. There's talk now about changing that, and I know that that's been kind of kicked around. And unfortunately, the City of Lowell's patrolman's contract or police contracts don't have the language that has been put in other communities, which caps the exposure of the city. So that could have very serious impact on our bottom line. So there's a lot of things that have been done that put us at more exposure than some other communities. But it all depends on how it all shakes out. And I think going back to the meeting that we had back in December, one of our concerns is saying that it's going to be several $1 million and then have it be less. Basically puts a lot of panic out there with our employees, which has a detrimental impact on their productivity and any number of other things that might happen. So you don't want to be overblowing it, but you also don't want to be underestimating it. It's a very, very difficult situation. It's very fluid. Councilor Kazanjian mentioned that businesses are cutting back, and I would have to say that, government's cutting back too. Local government's cutting back. That budget that was passed by this council back in the spring, I think Councilor Elliott mentioned, it was a very frugal and very tight budget, and that's been the case each and every year. I know that I've been here, that we've tightened this each and every fiscal year, and so we have been cutting back. We have been looking at doing things differently. In fact, I put a piece in the Lowell Sun recently highlighting and outlining the millions of dollars of reductions and changes we've made in terms of revenues that we're bringing in from other sources and cuts that we've made to close the gap. I certainly think we're doing a lot. And you know what? We're probably not doing, and clearly there's more work to be done, and we need to make more cuts, and we need to make more changes. And But as I've repeatedly said, the City of Lowell is a business. It's the people's business, and it's incumbent upon us as a management team, as a city council, to look at it in that way. And we've brought forward ideas in the past of reorganizations and reductions in staff that have not necessarily been supported by everyone. But I think that those are the things we have to do. We have to think outside the box. It's a different world, and we have to do things differently. So, but we have been in touch with the delegation, members of the delegation, one-on-one. I have been, and again, keeping in touch with the state people, the State House, as well as the Municipal Association, to get their reading on all of this.
No, I don't disagree. And as the experts are telling us that we're not coming out of this probably as easy or as quick as we have been in the past. So taking those types of actions and looking outside the box is what we need to do. And And I appreciate the fact that we're looking at whether, you know, where are the cuts going to be? You're right. I mean, there's going to be cuts to Chapter 70. I mean, the schools are going to be affected, which sort of leads me to one more question. I'm presuming you're working with the superintendent and the school committee are, you know, preparing for, and I think you're right. One legislator said there's no, you know, there's not going to be any cuts. I don't think that anyone is that naive to anticipate that. On the other hand, we don't want to overreact and, you know, take drastic actions that may not have that effect. But we do know something is coming, and I think that finance subcommittee meeting will be very helpful for us and to the people at home, to let them know, you know, what we're doing. And I think Council Martin said at the last finance subcommittee meeting, I think it's important just to let people know that we are taking it seriously. And while everything may not be, you know, highly publicized, I think the finance subcommittee is a good way to get it out and let people know that we are prepared, and we're going to try to save services, but we're not going to be able to deliver the way that we have been in the past because the money just is not going to be there. So I appreciate your comments, Mr. Manager, and we'll look forward to that meeting and you know, work through this.
All in favor of Councilor Elliott's motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I would like to take a motion out of sequence. It's a motion by Council Rita Mercer, and these two lovely people have been waiting very patiently to speak on the motion. It's a motion by Council Rita Mercer. City Council requests the city manager to report on the sewer backups in the area of 800 Varnum Avenue. Seconded by Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alfred St. Peter is ready to register to speak on this issue.
Mr. Mayor, Manager Lynch, City Council, I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. This is concerning the sewage backup that we've had, and unfortunately, the most recent was on New Year's Day, and I'd like to thank Mr. Mayor and Rita for getting the city to respond so quickly to alleviate yet another flood in our basement for sewage this year. This problem actually dates back several years, and the city water department has been up numerous times checking the pump station and whatnot, and invariably they have come back with debris in the filters, okay? And for the most part, it always happens during heavy rainstorms. And this time, although we didn't have any rainstorms, we did have some ice backup and whatnot in the brook. And my feeling is that during the water project reconstruction on Varnum Avenue, I'm not sure how many people were around then or are aware of this, but the contracting company actually breached both of the culverts that go under Varnum Avenue. One comes from in back of Lewis Drug in that drainage area, and the other one comes from, the newest one comes from Topman Road, and that's a 6-foot culvert. During the process of the water renovation, they breached both of them, and since then, the large culvert, which comes off Topman Road, which always used to have the largest amount of flow coming into the brook, doesn't flow at all. A lot of the flow is coming from the smaller 2-foot culvert that comes from in back of Lewis Drug. And during the breach, they opened the road several times trying to fix it, and in one of their processes working on it, they actually backed up sewage into the hair salon across the street during that period of time. It's my feeling that what is happening is when they breach that culvert, they also breach the sewage pipe, and water is running into the sewage pipe, which would explain why when it rains, we get heavy rain, we always get the backup, and why there's so much debris in the pump house screen, because the debris they're getting is leaves and sticks and stuff like that. And with the isolation of what should be the sewage and the rainwater, that should not be occurring in the pump house at this point. But invariably, that's what's been happening, and you know, we've lived with it for quite a while. And this last go around, and I know there was a report there was some grease and stuff like that from perhaps a pizza place, but I think that's just compounded the issue. We've had Drake it sewer up several times to purge the pipe. Never found a blockage or anything else. The only thing that does happen, as soon as they open the trap in my house, it allows air in there, which allows the water to actually have a way to escape. Otherwise, the trap creates a vacuum in there, so the water doesn't go out. This last time, even popping the cover wouldn't help because water was actually coming up in the house. And at one point, it rose in the bathtub about 6 inches in half an hour. So, I mean, it was pretty disgusting. And the last time we flooded, we had 3 or 4 inches of wastewater throughout the basement. And I was so fed up with it, I was going to sell the house for whatever I could get for it at that point because, you know, we got flooded during the Mother's Day flood. And we saw it coming. You know, we could prepare. This thing, when we got flooded 2 or 3 years ago, it happened in a matter of 10 minutes. Okay, that's how quickly the water comes in. And so I'd appreciate any effort to try to square the way. I do believe that probably find that under the road where they breached that culvert, they didn't put it back together right, and it's leaching into the sewage at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. It's a brand-new year, a very new day, and this is what they face in their basement. Sewage coming up into the tub, into the basement. And it isn't the first time. It's happened other times before. So I'm asking through this motion, Mr. Manager, if we could have a report as to what is the problem here. They live at 860 Varnum Avenue. But the reason I made the motion for 800 in that area there is because I had other calls as well. Mrs. Kozlowski on 800, she called me as well. So this is how I spent my New Year's Day, figuring how do we alleviate this problem. And may I just say that Shannon Cohen from Wastewater Utility was there. We had many people there trying to figure out what they could do, going back time and time again that day. Not a very good New Year's Day, and I'm very sorry for that. But and I know money's tight, but people
Well,
hate.
absolutely.
It's a tough-
Money was really, I think in this particular case, I think the council would agree that money is irrelevant.
Sure, thank
We have
you. They
an
need
obligation, and I'll have the wastewater people start working on it immediately.
Yeah, and the city pump truck has been up there periodically every couple of days. They were getting there again today. Same manhole, snaking it and pumping it, so.
We'll do that. We'll probably save money if we could just fix it.
You know what I'm concerned about?
Well, ma'am, why don't you come right to the podium?
My name is Debbie St. Peters. I'm his wife. I think the other thing is that I think everybody's got to admit that the pumping station is pretty old up there. From what I understand, it was built back like in the 1930s, 1940s or something. And you have added thousands of homes up there. We're right at the end of the line, and that's what the DPW tells us. We're right at the end of the line, and this is why it happens to us. And the other thing is that you have got another great big apartment building going online up at Duville Manor come April, and I'm really afraid of what's going to happen when that comes online, because the sewer is not big enough up there for everything.
Yeah. We'll work on this.
It's a big problem.
Councilor Kazanjian, then Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I suggest that we bring this forward to Mark Young and Shannon Cohen and possibly the engineer, because if there's a breach in that sewer line, they have a video camera they can put right in the line and determine if there's any type of break or any type of blockage. And if that's not the case, for a small amount of money, they could put a backflow preventer in there, allows the sewage to go through, but not to go back into the home.
Yeah, right. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. I didn't happen to speak to these folks on New Year's Day. I wasn't home, but I did speak with Mr. Briere.
Yes, right.
Your son-in-law. And I did send a memo, an email to Mr. Young on that day, and he had indicated that Shannon Cohen and staff have been up there, and they're going to stay on top of it. One of the contributing factors, I think, Mr. St. Pierre alluded to it, maybe there is a grease problem, but I mentioned to Mark Young, that makes sense, that, that if that culvert's not draining, we've had problems with that. Mr. Walsh in the past has gone out to clear that grate when there was flooding problems to that side of Clay Pit Brook. So I think it's worth looking into when they did put that sewer line. If there's sticks and things like that nature getting into that pump station or clogging it, that makes sense. But the city did respond, and it shouldn't happen again. I mean, it's really unfortunate, and whether the city has to put a trap on that or what is it, a tide flow valve or something of that nature so it won't happen again, I think that's our obligation. So.
Thank you. On New Year's Day, I believe I spent at least 2 hours on the phone with Mr. Briere. And Mr. Manager, I can't say enough about Shannon Cohen and the waste treatment staff. They just responded immediately. And I do have pictures here, Mr. Manager, of the problem Mr. Briere dropped off at my home. I did receive an email in my office complimenting Council Elliott and Council Rita Mercier for their involvement. And I wouldn't want to spend the new year in that predicament. But I do believe from the reports or evidence that was given to me that the line is not big enough. And with all this new construction and with Duvall Manor coming on board, you're right that the line that's there now cannot function properly. So we'll get a report from wastewater and from Mark Young, and we'll address it. Okay? Thank you. And thank you for your patience waiting so long. So.
Also, I did want to say thank you to everybody that did respond, because they were awesome.
Okay.
They really did a good job.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Councilor, did you want to say anything more on that?
No, I would just like a report and what a recommendation would be. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on with the agenda, we have two motions, and we'd like to take them together. Councilor Elliott's motion and Councilor Rita Mercier's motion. And Councilor Elliott's motion is City Council requests the city manager update the council on the RFPs for LaLashia Park. And Councilor Mercier's motion is request that the City Council Committee of the Whole request additional meetings with the Arena Civic Stadium Commission to discuss the lease of LaLashia Park. Second, who wants to second those both motions? Seconded by Councilor Kazanjian and Councilor Broderick. On the motion, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, my motion essentially speaks for itself, but I had seen articles in the newspaper regarding the RFP, and could we get a copy of that RFP? I'd like to take a look at it to see exactly how it's structured in comparison to maybe some of the others. And I was naturally concerned by any thought of losing the spinners, which doesn't appear to be the case. But can you explain a little, or maybe someone from the Arena Commission explain what was, why did we put an RFP out? What was in it? While we do need to be competitive and get the best price, knowing that this has a Boston affiliation, the spinners have a Boston affiliation, is there a better way? Is RFP the only way that we can do it, legally? Nobody wants to see, us lose the spinners. And now I see, I guess in the newspaper tonight, I guess I'd just like to get some more information, Mr. Manager. I guess I was taken aback by seeing it in the newspaper, which is okay, don't get me wrong, but I hadn't received anything, and it'd be nice to know exactly what's taken place and how we get to this point, and where are we going from here. We certainly want to retain the spinners, and I know it's a balancing act. We want to make sure we get the spinners and keep them here, but we also need to protect the interests of the city. So a lot of questions in there along with it, but that's my point, my concern. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit, and we can get a report a little bit later. But
if I may, we'll get you a report on this, and I think perhaps a meeting with the Arena Commission, if to get this would make sense, to get some understanding regarding the process. unless the solicitor wants to weigh in at all on that. But it generally is to why do we have to go out to bid? Yes, we do have to go out to bid. That's Chapter 30B, Section 16, which dictates that we have to go out to bid on the on any real estate. And that's I think we've certainly spent quite a bit of time tonight talking about the city's finances, and I think that this is an example that people have to understand in terms of looking at the long-term benefit to the city. Clearly, the Spinners have been a very successful organization, have done a great job, and the city's benefited by having a successful franchise here. At the same time, it is a balance, and we have to make sure that the city is getting the maximum amount of revenue that it can through this process, and that's what the law is intended to provide, and that's what I think the Arena Commission is seeking to do. But we'd be happy to get you a more full report on the steps that went along the way and the RFP that resulted in the proposals.
So, Mr. Manager, I think it was in tonight's newspaper or night before, Mr. Weber or Diamond Incorporated, they responded with a 10-year lease, and the request for proposal was 3 with an option for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us, there was a meeting today, is that right?
There was a meeting yesterday at the
Yesterday, I'm
Commission.
sorry. What is the outcome? Do we know where we're at with either accepting or rejecting, or?
His proposal has not been rejected, but there is a problem with giving anything more than the 3 plus the 2, a 5-year lease. It was advertised as that, and any change in that would you couldn't do more than 5 unless you rejected all the bids or threw out the bids and started all over.
Okay, so I'm presuming that the Arena Commission, or with you, with your staff, are moving to have that discussion and move in a direction of either re-advertise or, I mean,
well, what's happening is there's an effort underway right now that the Arena Commission is putting together. There was quite a lengthy discussion yesterday. They're putting together a number of ideas regarding the lease arrangements or lease terms that will be discussed at their next meeting, and the follow-up to that meeting will be, I would anticipate, some discussions with the Spinners organization.
And knowing that this is the Arena Commission that has to approve it, have we had any dialogue with the university, with members of the? I did see a quote in the paper, I think, but have you spoken to the chancellor? Are they on board with what's taking place? Because they inevitably have to support it as well, correct?
No, they don't have to support it as well. They have 3 representatives on the Arena Commission, 3 appointees, the chancellor, and the chancellor and I have been in communication regarding some issues that he has with the proposal that was submitted by the Spinners, and I think the Arena Commission is in concurrence with the chancellor, and I know that the communication actually was prompted by a communication that I made to the chancellor, indicating that I had concerns about some of those issues that the Spinners has raised, and that I wanted him to know that the city, from the city government standpoint, we were in full support of of the university.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused as to what's taking place. Are you speaking to the chancellor as to what any differences? I mean, we're all.
He and I have had. It's mostly been through email, but it's been through it's been discussions that we've had.
Okay, I just don't want to get so far ahead. Then all of a sudden the university is not on board, and it slows it down.
They're on board with. The city and the university are on board with the terms of what we see as the university lease that they have, and I would say that the Arena Commission is on board with that as well.
Okay. Thank you. I look forward to the report, and appreciate it.
Councilor Mercy, on your motion or Councilor Elliott's motion?
Well, more or less his motion, it's together, and the manager did say that he understands we should meet again. And the manager did say that the city of Lowell is a business, and it's the people's business. And it's my business to represent those people that I represent. I don't represent a certain entity, although I will preface my future remarks by saying that the respondent, the only respondent, has done a tremendous job for 10 years. Now the contract is over. But I do have some questions, and I'm glad that Councilor Elliott made this motion. First of all, who crafted the RFP?
The RFP was crafted essentially by the Arena Commission with the assistance of PA Sports, a consultant that they brought on, and the Law Department.
And how much, did we pay anything for this, crafting of this RFP?
The PA Sports, which has handled a lot of the ministerial duties associated with the RFP, as well as their participation in the drafting of the RFP, did have a cost to the Arena Commission of, I believe, $3,500.
$3,500. And I'm very disappointed in the way that it was crafted, because the respondent didn't respond to some things, such as concessions, advertising, novelty sales, advertisement, whatever. Of course they didn't, and I don't blame any of the respondents for doing that, because it wasn't asked of them through the RFP. At least I can understand that. I didn't see it.
Well, Councilor, if I may, it was left open-ended. They could structure the deal whichever way they wanted. We did have another respondent that crafted it with a rental fee plus a share of concessions outside of baseball. The Spinners...
Yes, for us to pay 15% if we used their concession equipment.
That's the Spinners' proposal, I believe. But everyone they left it open that they could craft the way they want. And there's sort of a philosophical debate there, if you will, or business debate as to what is in the city's best interest. And I probably shouldn't get into this so much right now, but as to what the best way is to structure those deals.
Let me ask you if there was such a thing in the RFP that stated that the contract would be null or void if it was ever sold. Was there anything in there? In other words, some time ago, they wanted to add on to the seating. And if they did, the previous manager said, well, then if you want to do that, we'll have to go into the contract again and open it up. What after, furthermore, first of all, we put out an RFP that said 3 years with an added option to add 2 years. I think that this is null and void, because we didn't get any respondent that said they were gonna, they wanted 10 years. How do you make your own rules? Because in tonight's paper it says, City Manager Bernie Lynch reached last night, said the commission will meet again on January 22nd to develop its strategy for negotiating a new lease with the Spinners. How did they get to negotiate with someone that just violated the RFP by putting in what they wanted? Did it say that they could, we're asking for 3 years with an option to extend 2, and they put in 10? And we're going to negotiate now with these people? I mean, I don't want to throw everything out in the bathwater out with the baby, but this is not the way that I see it. How are they negotiating with someone that didn't even respond properly to an RFP? I don't understand that. Can you explain that?
I will try, and I'll defer to the city solicitor as well. The Arena Commission has the option of, they don't have an option of giving a 10-year lease. However, they do have the option of accepting the bid and on its face, and then sitting down with them and saying, you didn't meet that requirement. But that's considered a minor, it can be considered a minor informality that they then can ignore, set aside, and continue negotiations with the RFP process. But I'll defer to the city solicitor as well.
When does the point of this whole scenario come before the council? After they get finished negotiating something that to me seems like they violated the law in the first place?
Well, it isn't they didn't violate the law. I think a violation of the law would be if a 10-year deal was done at this point. But having them respond and say, we want 10, Well, we can't give 10. We've only said 5, but we can waive that, and which essentially I think what the commission is currently thinking. We'll waive that and talk about, what we put in the RFP.
That's why we would like to see the RFP. Could we, is it possible we could see it?
Counselor, can we have the city solicitor probably answer some of your questions?
As far as the RFP, absolutely, you can see the RFP. As far as the issue in terms of the term of the lease, you're right, in the sense that going beyond responding to it as you see fit, as opposed to what was specifically asked for of all the bidders, is problematic. In this particular case, as the manager had pointed out, what would be illegal would be to then, having commenced an RFP process, to separate yourself from it and then allow one bidder to essentially double or even more than double what the advertised term was. So in this particular case, having a bidder basically come into compliance with what all potential bidders would have had notice of and would have had an opportunity to bid on, under those circumstances, it would be allowable, I believe, under 30B, because none of the bidders would have an argument that they were somehow left, at an unequal footing. Everybody had an opportunity to bid on a 3-year term with these 2 option terms that were at the discretion of the arena and the city. As far as your other question in terms of when would you participate in this process, the arena commission would be negotiating the best lease terms that it could negotiate with the bidder. Once that's in place, the council, because we're dealing with real estate, would have to have final approval over that lease. And at that point, if this was not something that was agreeable to the council, as has happened in the past, the council could reject it.
Let me just ask this, because this reminds me of putting tow companies out to bid. And the RFP says that you have to have an enclosed structure to house these vehicles that you're towing. But, oh no, wait a minute, you don't have that, so let's amend it and let's decide that maybe you don't need it. And that's what it seems like's happening here.
Well, and in all of these cases, it's always going to be fact-driven, and there might be circumstances where, depending on what the bid is, whether you've had a bid or an RFP, you could have a number of bidders, and if you had a number of bidders who complied in each and every way, that they were both responsive and responsible bidders, then in that case, and money being equal, in that case, you would take the people who first complied. And that's the risk, quite frankly, that a bidder runs when they fail to comply with the RFP terms that are set forth by the governmental body.
And I'll tell you another risk.
But that may be the difference in terms of the example that you were giving with respect to tow contracts.
Well, I'll tell you.
Where you have a number of bidders. Here we have one.
I'll tell you another risk that I see here. Another risk that I see here is that it wasn't RFP'd for a 10-year lease, and if we allow this 10-year lease to happen, then lo and behold, the person that withdrew could come back and say, oh, gee whiz.
Again, Counselor, I agree completely. I think we've said that we cannot do a 10-year lease. Bottom line,
I think 10 years is a long time.
It can't happen. Can't happen. That doesn't mean we can't talk to the spinners about a 5, but we cannot do a 10-year lease.
And then I want to talk about the fact that the respondent was asked if we could get a part of any type of a concert that took place there, and the person responded, well, I don't even know if we can have a concert there. Well, we didn't know that they could have a concert last year, but thanks to Councilor Kazanjian, he brought forth the fact that we should get some part of that, which we did get $7,500. So I'm thinking, in case we decide that you can have a concert there, I'd like a part of that.
I just want to interject here.
Councilor,
that would be part of the lease. I think we got a report tonight from you, Mr. Manager. and I'm just looking at the two last lines in the first page. Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30B, allows the commission members to conduct further negotiations with the spinners regarding the rent offered as well as other terms and conditions of the lease. So what they're doing is the law allows them to do it, whatever they're doing, and I don't know what they're doing at this point, but it allows it. Is this right?
Absolutely. And
So-
I don't want to interrupt, but
Mr.
to-
Manager,
to
did the
explain.
RFP request that the respondents' proposals have a tax return in there to show what their revenue stream was, or what?
It asked for some financial information, yes.
But not necessarily a tax return?
I can't recall whether it required a tax. I think it just required financial statements.
Right, fairly
but-
detailed.
Right.
Let me just talk out loud, because I don't know if I'm violating any...
Doing it.
I don't know if I'm, no, but I'm going to talk out loud. I'm thinking out loud. Bear with me when I talk about people that give 30% of concessions, or whatever they give, 25%, whatever they give something. The arena, the auditorium, and they can have an argument and say, well, we give it on other events. For example, the arena. The Devils do not give us a concession on their hockey, just on other entities like synchronized skating, Disney on Ice, or whatever takes place there. Then they give us concessions. Well, you know what? This is a new year. This is a new time. Why can't we get concessions on the main event? The main event. Why was it not in the RFP? Why didn't we be a little bit creative?
Council, if I may interject, they can negotiate weekends, nights, and so forth. It still has to come before this elected body.
I
and
want
we
my
will
city to
have
get the
a
biggest
vote.
bang for the buck.
We will have the vote on that contract, and if the majority of this council doesn't like it, then we reject it and
Well, we
let it
will
go
keep
back.
that in mind, because I'm looking for the biggest bang for the
And
buck.
you know what?
I
So
don't
am
mind
I.
someone making a
So
profit.
isn't every councilor.
But someone
So-
made a profit for 10 years, and now it's opened. Mr. Manager, are they paying, is anybody paying rent there for the extension of the contract expired December 31st? We're now into January. Are we going to get any revenue at this point?
I would think that once it's done, we could look at some type of, again, that's open to some discussion. Right now, there's nothing specific on that.
Well, it should
If I
be. We're
could-
going into another month, aren't we?
Right,
They don't stop my mortgage payment if it's extended into another month or another year. I have to pay it, but
Right. We had extended the current lease for a limited period of time to allow for some further negotiations. And the process had gotten delayed just a bit, once because of a snowstorm and a couple other issues that had cropped up. The other thing is that the spinners are continuing to insure that property for us under the original lease agreement, which is obviously a benefit to the city.
Mr. Manager, what's the debt service on the ballpark?
$39,000, I believe.
About 39,000.
And what do they pay us a year?
They pay
40, right?
$40,000 a year that goes into the capital
Nothing right
account.
now.
Nothing
Well,
right now.
Well, right.
But if you read the report that you submitted to us, and again, I don't want to make this difficult, if I may, Counselor, for the spinners not to stay here.
I'm not trying to
No,
do that.
I know you're not, but I'm saying is that when you read this report, there are some concessions being made here that we know of, yet to be negotiated even further. So, again, apparently, am I the only one that got this? This
No, you're
report?
the only one that read it.
Well, you know, there's some great...
Everyone received that.
Okay, so
read it, we
what
read it.
I'm saying is that this is a lot different than the one that just expired.
Right.
Substantially different. Now, can you get more? Sure, I hope so. But I'll tell you, this is not a... Again, I don't want to get into the
This is a
commission's realm.
business. This is
Yeah,
a business.
I just don't want to
We're in
get
a
in-
business, too.
Yeah, I think that the commission members are very much aware of what this council feels and the community feels about the spinners, and also knowing that the city is going to be protected. Otherwise, when it reaches us, it just won't be approved.
Right.
It's that simple. It will not be approved if it's not to our satisfaction as a majority.
Council Kazanjian on
I'm
this.
sorry, I didn't want to.
on this-
I didn't
That's
want
quite all right.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have two options. We can either take a 5-year, negotiate with the Spinners and take a 5-year contract with the Spinners, is that correct? Or put it out for an RFP for 10 years or whatever we decide.
Right.
Is that
Right.
is that what
It's-
pretty much we're saying?
No.
The commission would work on the RFP, and right now, what's before the commission is the option of a 3-year lease, period, or to potentially exercise those options up front, which would then all come before the council. If for whatever reason that didn't happen, then it would go back before the commission in terms of, either sending out the same RFP again, or, likely recrafting an RFP.
Okay, so it's a 3-year lease with a 2-year option, and that's what you're going to try and negotiate.
And the option rests with
Right,
the
and if
governmental
they
body.
choose to take that, then it'll come forward to us.
This council,
And
absolutely.
it's definitely going to come forward to us,
Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
Okay. Should we, are we going to be getting together with the Arena Commission? Is that something we can do, or?
That's Councilor
Right.
Mercier's motion. We'll get into that, but Councilor Milonazo wants to discuss what's before us now. Councilor Milonazo? You all set,
You
Council?
finished?
I'm all set, yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Caulfield. Again, we did get the report this evening, and I think it does need to be said, as Councilor Armin Mercier did indicate, we are again, I guess in my opinion, we're starting to move in the right direction of doing what I think Councilor Rita Mercier wants to do, and that is get more for the city. I think, though, that you have to look at historically that the Spinners have been a very good tenant in that building. At the time, they did negotiate a lease. We didn't know how successful baseball was going to be. It ended up being tremendously successful, and I, as one city councilor, would like to see AA baseball stay at LaLasha Park. That being said, that I don't think we can lose sight of the fact that the Boston Red Sox control the AA baseball team, as I understand it, that plays at LaLasha Park. So again, I'm looking forward to looking at the RFP, but I don't quite understand why we had to go out for RFP in light of the fact that the Red Sox actually control the team. My point is that if someone, say, from the Seattle Mariners came in with a proposal and they were going to pay us $1 million a year, the Red Sox could say no. So if the Red Sox have that much control, why didn't the Arena Commission, based upon that fact, simply negotiate with the Spinners once the lease was up in order to keep the AA team that the Red Sox control, Drew Weber doesn't control it, at LaLasha Park? I guess is a point that I hope to see in the RFP, because I know when, and again, I'm mixing apples with oranges, but I believe I was on the city council when we extended the contract for the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. I don't remember going back out for RFP.
You did. Yeah, that was publicly bid.
That was publicly bid?
The extension,
Okay, well, I apologize. I didn't remember
It hadn't
that.
yet expired, but
Okay.
to get those additional years.
Right, but it had not
that was-
expired. but
That
we
was
did go-
publicly
okay,
bid.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there was one bidder.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. But again, I look at the auditorium as sole source as well, but again, it was public building. so
Right, you're
we
leasing
did-
out public
correct,
space
correct,
for
Correct. But again,
profit-making
the Red
activity.
Sox, the Red Sox control the AA franchise here, so I guess that's my issue with the
It's-
RFP and why I'd be anxious to look at the RFP.
My understanding that the Spinners have, I guess, a 2-year lease, a 2-year agreement remaining with the Red Sox for that minor league affiliate.
Which again, is my point, I don't,
Right.
2 years or 2 months, it's still controlled at the end of the day. Whatever the Arena Commission brings back before the city council, the Red Sox will have some say.
Right. Some of these discussions are, quite frankly, discussions that are part of the strategy of the commission in terms of its approach to negotiations. And so I just throw that out just as a caution that, we're all alive.
Point
here.
taken.
Hey, Councilor Milonazo, you're 100% right, but we're dealing with a double-edged sword. It's a public facility. Legally, I believe you have to go out for bid, and the Red Sox control that territory. So it's a double-edged sword, and I think the law department and the manager went through the legal process. This is what we are. Councilor Kazanjian?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's very important that we get meet with the Uranium Commission, but in the meantime, if we get a copy of the RFP, and this way here, we can take a look at it and see what's in there, but can we get a report on what it takes to, what's the cost to run that stadium per year?
If you look at the proposal that we gave to the council from the spinners, they have a number of those costs built in there that you can get a pretty good handle on what the maintenance costs.
Is there any type of loan on that facility? Do we own that outright, the city?
We have, I think we just said there was $39,000 left of debt service,
Okay.
$39,000 per year.
Okay. And do they take, I know they take care of the capital improvements, or they pay us for the capital improvements?
They pay for the more routine capital improvements. They maintain the field. They have invested, and again, that's detailed in there what they've invested over a period of time. Last year, you may recall, they built a new clubhouse. That was a lengthy negotiations that we went through with that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we required that they structure it as a donation to the city. So that clubhouse now belongs to the city of Lowell. There was a donation agreement executed on that. But if there were major improvements that were needed there, that would require the city to step forward. And if, for instance, the roof on the roofed areas needed to be replaced, that would be the city responsibility. If the seats needed to be replaced, that would be the city's responsibility. And that's why, unless there was some other agreement structured, but generally that's the case with facilities like that it's the city that would be responsible, and that's why there's money being set aside in the capital account.
Well, so now is the $50,000 pretty much is to maintain the field?
No. Well, the maintenance of the field is paid for by the spinners as part of their lease agreement. They have to cut the grass, seed the grass, replace the infield, and they have to maintain it to certain major league standards.
Right.
That's a hefty. I think they've put numbers in there of a couple $300,000 a year. But the $50,000 is for capital on the stadium itself.
Okay, so is that money put away, or is that being
Yes,
used? Okay.
that is being
So in other words, the $50,000 is being put away for the capital improvements?
It was 25, it went up to 40.
Yeah.
There was some of it used a few years back to deal with the handicap accessibility issue at the ballpark.
Right.
That was an allowable expense. I don't know off the top of my head what other uses that's been used for, but it has to be a real capital type of cost.
Right.
Everything else, the tenant is responsible for.
Right, okay.
Council Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is this on your motion for?
No, it's on the same one. Through you to the city manager, Mr. Manager, did the RFP contain any information as to putting a little type of fee on tickets sold, each ticket, like they do at the auditorium and the arena? Was there any mention of that in the RFP, which could have gone into a certain type of fund for improvement, like they do at the arena and the auditorium?
No, but that doesn't necessarily in any way prohibit those types of things from occurring as we go through the negotiation process. So again, the Arena Commission is looking at all these different possibilities to structure, the best possible deal to bring to the council for approval, and we don't want to.
And I might add, let's not forget that many years ago, before you were here, Mr. Manager, this city made an investment as well. We invested $600,000 at Alumni Field and another $200,000 to sewer, tie-in water and all that. So there's an $800,000 investment that the city made as well. And I just want to note, according to the proposal that I have before me, and it says, this figure includes a potential 2009 increase in ticket prices. So before we've even been blamed for anything of trying to exhume every dime out of them, they're proposing to raise the tickets. So it's not this council, through our pickiness and trying to get the biggest bang for the buck, that we're trying to do it and say, oh, the poor people's tickets were raised because of us. I'm not taking the blame for this. Okay. Thank you.
All in favor of Council Elliott's motion that was just presented, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now we're on Council Rita Mercy's motion about meeting with the...
Yes, it speaks for itself, and I'll divert it over to Councilor Kazanjian if he has a comment on it. Unless
No comment, I just want to meet with the Arena Commission.
So do I.
And to meet with the whole council body, and in the meantime, see if we can get an RFP, so we have an idea what we're talking about.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on with the agenda. Motion by Council Rita Mercia. City Council requests the city manager to have the law department draw the proper vote to have a 60-day trial for handicap parking at 50 Wash Street, seconded by Councilor Lindsay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself, but I want to state for the record that the person provided all the necessary paperwork and proof that this actual exists. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Next motion by Council Rita Mercia. City Council requests the city manager to improve communications with the city council, seconded by Councilor Kazanjian. On the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager, and thank you, Mr. Manager, for calling me 3 times within 2 days. I really appreciate hearing your voice. And it isn't to, put your neck on the chopping block, but I believe that when I was very excited about who's the next bidder, who's the other bidder, I could assume one, but the other one I couldn't. There were guesses here, guesses there. Then when the bids were going to be open, I was waiting with bated breath to know how much are they going to give us, what's going on, what's the competition here. Everybody was asking, everybody's calling. And then people were calling my house telling me what I thought that this council should have known before anybody, before people at the Sun. I know that they did their job. Jen Myers did a job. Everybody's on the right page. But I think I'd like to have this council know a little bit before people read it in the paper, because I don't get my paper till 4 o'clock. And some people get it at 6 in the morning, and they're calling me, telling me what they already knew that I thought these people here should be knowing. I don't know how it got from the Arena Commission to the Sun and bypassed this very body. That's the gist of the motion, because I remember back to a few years ago when the very issue of communication was one of the reasons why this guy met his demise. Not that I want you to do that, not that I want to put your neck on the chopping block, but if it's fair for one, it should be fair for all. I like to be, made aware of what's going on, but you don't have to call me every day. Please don't. I appreciate you don't.
No,
Mr. Manager, we all heard that.
I will be calling you each and every day. No, Council, I think that you make first off, let me say that there are times when I pick up the Lowell Sun in the morning and I read things that I don't know anything about, and what's happening in various departments or what's happening in the city, and those things happen, and I've learned in all of my years to sort of accept that. I will contact the department head or the employee that might be involved or whatever the case may be, and I ask my questions then, but I realize that sometimes the press just does a little bit too good a job of finding out what's happening, and I'm last to know. Having said that, I think there's always room for improvement of communication, and I know that my predecessors, a number of them have been here in the city of Lowell, have had the request that they improve communications. Again, I've been at this for a long time, and I know that not many, but a few of officials that I've worked with have felt that I could improve that, and I think there's always room for improvement, and we're gonna try to make that happen. In my defense, this did happen over the holidays while I was on vacation, so I'd ask that you give me a little bit of slack for that. But having said that, again, we're going to work on that. We're going to improve communications, and you and I you're going to be a fast dial on my phone, speed dial on my phone.
But I'm not asking for simple little things. I thought this was a major thing to me.
I understand. Again, if I had been less in the vacation and holiday mode, I might have thought that myself.
Thank you. I didn't want to create a firestorm here. I just wanted you to know
And again, I think, importantly, I think that in terms of my communication, it's certainly, I don't think there's anything that I've ever hidden from the city council in any way. Things get out into the paper faster sometimes than I'd like, but we're going to work on it.
Thank you.
Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to request a roll call on this because even though I respect the fact that Councilor Mercier has every right to file this motion, I just can't support it. I don't really believe the issue, and she did indicate that it was one issue over the holidays, really rises to the level of a motion. Again, this is just my opinion, so I would like a roll call on the motion.
As soon as I hear from Council Lindsay and then Council Kazanji, we'll have a roll call vote. Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good motion. I think that if Councilor Mercier got 3 calls this week, I've gotten 3 calls this year.
That's more than me.
So you're doing very well. I think that as we go through these meetings, some of these RFPs and discussions of contracts and things really should be done in executive session. I mean, we compromise our negotiating angles and points all the time. And I think those are things, when we say communicate, that we should be talking in executive session or, about our strategy. And my interpretation is that the councilors are starving for information. I mean, we want to know what's going on. We want to know how these contracts are progressing. We want to know, people ask us all the time, without compromising the situation and the negotiations and our strategy. So I think that just listening to tonight's meeting, a lot of things can be contributed to lack of communication. And I'm glad to hear you say that you can improve in that area. I think the motion, just going back to the Wakefield property, that, if these things were addressed prior to, that maybe there's not an issue. Maybe we know that how a council feels, or if there's a issue about something. Now, whether you go into executive session prior to a meeting or something, do you have a problem with this? I just think there's better methods of communication to handle a lot of these things. I know that there were issues where we voted early on, and, this is my 13th month. But, I've read in the paper about certain things, and, about the Songus Arena and the $125,000 or whatever figure it is, and I particularly don't like finding out through the newspaper that maybe there was an oversight, or maybe there was a mistake made, or, how do these things happen? I would much rather not get an email and not get a text message. I get a lot out of talking to a person, communicating with a person, because you get a feel for what they're talking about, how they feel about something, and they can be animated, like Councilor Rita Mercier was tonight, about certain things, and that they feel strong about something. And then other things may not be a big deal. But certainly I don't think an email or a text message or any of our modern technology methods of communication help to, bring parties together when there's an issue that needs some attention. Rumors, okay, there was a rumor going around that the repairs cost $25,000. I think better communication alleviates rumors. So that's just another thing that, if I knew there was a rumor going around about something, I think that I would want to address it, and, I heard this and, just want to nip it in the bud so that it doesn't come back. It doesn't come up at a council meeting, for instance. And then, just to be specific, I know I asked the question about the delegation. Are we communicating with the delegation? And I just think it's a straightforward question. And, when I get an answer like, I spoke to a legislator, that is just doesn't tell me anything. We need to discuss this more. We need to be more forward about things, because it's not an answer. So I think that this is a very good motion. It's probably something that we need to address as a council and move forward and better these lines of communication. But my interpretation is that a lot of the things that happened just at this meeting tonight are councilors starving for information on different things.
If I could,
Go ahead, Manager
Thank you,
Lynch.
Mr. Mayor. If I could, Counselor, again, I think that there's always room for improvement in communication both ways. And I certainly recognize that during the course of the day, you know, I'm running a $320 million operation here. There's a lot of things that happen, on the fly, and with all due respect, to take, you know, on a daily basis or whatever, to call 9 councilors to talk to them about, you know, to chat, is okay, but exactly. But, you know, in terms of the, I think that there's, well, I guess what concerns me, though.
What I'm saying is this is your full-time job. It's not my full-time job. I want to be informed. I want to know what's going on. And I'm pretty busy, too, with the things that I do in my day-to-day life. But there's things that come up. And we go back to, you know, the Riley School, you know. They didn't have heat, and I have to find out about it through something else. I don't want to dwell on those things, but I'm just saying, to nip it in the bud in the future, there's things that I think are important. More than 3 times in 365 days.
And I think that, I think we have spoken more than 3 times. But again, I think that there's the issue of what rises to the level of requiring a communication varies from councilor to councilor. It becomes very difficult to manage all of that and the expectations. And frankly, you know, again, I think Councilor Mercia raises a good point regarding perhaps communication. But I've also, I've been around the block long enough to know that sometimes communication is sort of a catch-all to, that can be the beginning of a manager's demise, and I'm certainly aware of that. But I think that, you know, there's issues of you hire a manager, whether it be me, any of my predecessors, or my successors, and you have to allow them to manage, and under the Plan E form of government, or under a city or town charter, there is certainly authority that's given to the manager that has to be allowed. And to, you know, go, you know, to delve too much into the day-to-day operation really breaks into that. The other is in terms of a rumor. You know, I would hope that communication would work both ways. That's sort of a concept that goes with communication, that if people are hearing rumors, Councilor Kazanjian heard a rumor that renovation of that space cost $25,000. I would hope that he would have called me up and said, geez, I heard this rumor. And I would have been able to take care of that. I heard the rumor from a member of the press who contacted me and said, what's going on with that? Now, I don't know where that person got that information. I don't know how widespread it is. But, you know, it's just it's a foolish rumor. That I'm not sure where it initiated. I contacted Mr. McCarthy as soon as I heard that and said, do you know anything about this? And he gave me the information. But I would think that, you know, again, the communication goes both ways. I would hope if there's a rumor of that sort, you just pick up the phone and call me and say, what's going on with it? And again, I think that there's ways that we can work on communication. But I think that we have to be realistic about that. The other point, just the final point in terms of the executive session, there's reasons you go into executive session, and you don't just go into executive session at every meeting just to talk about what's on the agenda. You have to go in for specific reasons. Now, if there's a question on the lease agreement with the Wakefield property, then I think Councilor Kazanjian's effort tonight to ask to get more information was the right way to do it. We can get you that more information, or you can ask, can we meet in executive session to talk about this, to talk about the lease agreement on this? I think that's legitimate. And I'd be happy to do that. But I don't know if I'd necessarily put that one into communication. That would require me to sit down and call just because we're going to enter into a lease agreement.
Yeah.
I don't think
mean,
that's what anyone had in mind with...
I understand, and I have no way do I agree that we should micromanage, from our positions. And that's not what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think better lines of communication nip things like that in the bud. I mean, that's a pretty thick contract. That contract is written and put together, and there was some effort put into that contract.
Which contract was that?
For the lease agreement.
For that property?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of effort goes into these contracts or lease agreements.
That's...
Or everything that you give us or we get in our packets.
Right.
So all I'm saying is that there's things that can be discussed that, we're talking about firehouses and use of different places. That's just one thing.
Right.
But mainly is what I'm getting at is the RFPs and the contracts. I don't think we should be talking about these in the council meetings. Those are something we should be addressing in executive session, and we don't want to be compromising our strategies and our negotiating ways.
And that's always an opening to the city council to say, I'd like to talk to you about this in executive session.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could suggest, I think we should talk about, and I have that, if you notice, I've said that on a number of occasions through the months that you've been a city councilor and through the time that I've been here, and is that there are times when I'll say, I don't think this is something we should talk about here. If we'd like to talk about it, I think this should be done in executive session. More than happy to do that.
But, 3 calls in 1 year, I think,
Well,
what you said about the demise of other managers, and I don't get into that too much, but I would think that a lack of communication would be more of a reason for a demise.
Oh, absolutely. Or the
and I don't think that you can be
the claim of a lack of communication. And
Yeah.
Councilor, I do think that, and I can go back. I don't keep all the records, but I know that we've spoken on more than 3 occasions.
I'm talking about a phone call about
That's
a
what
heads up or whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
Well, that's okay. But just touching upon it was their demise. The other thing is I don't think that you should be is paranoid to develop a relationship thinking that that's going to cause the demise of your position. That's all.
I don't think creating a relationship is going to cause my demise. Well, I don't know. I don't think I have a bad personality that would cause that. But I think that no. I know that the claim is typically that it's a popular claim to say that there's a lack of communication, and that's what causes demise. But generally, there are other issues that go with that as well.
Okay. Either way, I think it's a good motion, and I think that improved communications is vital to the partnership and the work that gets done in the city and to move forward.
Councilor Kazanja?
Thank you, Mayor. I also think it's a good motion. I think it's come to a head, and we're talking about it now, and I think it's very important. Excuse me. And people probably think I dislike the manager, but believe it or not, I don't. I mean, I ask the questions, I raise the questions, and the reason why I ask those questions is because that's why I ran for this council, and I represent the people in the city. So, I mean, like I said, I ask the questions, and I think it's very important. This city is run like a business. It should be run like a business. You're supposed to be the professional manager. You're the CEO. We're the board of directors. We represent the shareholders, which are the people in the city, the taxpayers in the city. So if we don't know what's happening in the city here on important matters such as the SMG contract, the Spinners contract, and we have to find out by reading the newspapers, I think that's poor management on your part where you're not the professional manager. And again, I don't dislike you, Mr. Manager, but I'm here to do the job, and we're supposed to do it, and I'm thriving for and starving for information, and I would love to get it, and especially on a big contract like I talked about. And if I have to read it in the newspaper, I mean, it bothers me, and I don't think there's any reason that we should have to do that. I know Councilor Elliott asked a question about the Spinners contract, and he said we're in negotiations, we can't discuss it. The next thing we know, we read what's happening in the newspaper. I mean, so we see that, and we feel that, I mean, you're not communicating with us, and I've sat down with you twice and asked you to communicate, and you said, I have to do it, you're right. And it hasn't happened. I'm here, like I said, I'm here to do the job, represent the people, and do the best I can. But if I don't know what's happening, I can't do that job. And that's where I'm coming from. And I'm just looking for more communication, the bottom line.
Any, Councilor Amamisia and Councilor Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief because I don't want calls every day, just to start off with that. But I think it's a good motion. It's well-intended. And I think that your communication skills, as you yourself agreed on, needs a little bit retuning, refining. I know that there's no way you can communicate with 9 councilors every day or every 2 days, every 3 days. But I think that there are certain issues that come up that you have to deal with that ultimately brings us into the play. I think you should make some judgments on communicating better with the council as a whole, individually, or however way you want to do it. And I'm not talking micromanaging the place. I'm not talking about day-to-day operations, but there's certain big issues that are controversial in the city that we get called on, and we can't respond to it because we haven't been told yet by you or your staff or someone. So I think that you're taking it the right way. I don't think this is a scheme to begin a demise of anything. I think this is just something that says, look, you're very busy. We know you have to deal with the community, but remember the board of directors are very, very important in this city as under the planning form of government. So just take that as some words of wisdom to you, okay? Just improve those communicate skills a little bit better as it means with us. I don't care what you do with everybody else, but I'm talking about us, the city council. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had originally intended to support this motion because I think it's fairly simple and there's always room for improvement, but having heard the discussion, I can tell you I'm pretty satisfied with the communication from the manager. And I look back now, I've been here, this is my 10th year, 3rd city manager, and I don't see a perceptible difference in the communication of any of the 3 of them. I think when I think about calls initiated to me by a city manager, which I take to be an important issue, that I take that the manager is going to call all 9 councilors on that issue. Those calls you count on less than 5 fingers in the course of a year, and that's all 3 managers that I have served under. I can say that about, and because of the very reason we talked about. The manager has a big operation to run, and if you're going to call a councilor on an issue, that's going to lead inevitably to discussions of other issues, and it's going to take some time when you multiply that by 9 people, by 10 or 15 or 20 minutes. It's an important chunk of the day. Now, there are certain issues that demand that, but they're few and far between. Having said that, on which I think led to this is this whole discussion, number one, about the arena, and also now about LeLacheur Field. And those, I think, are particularly difficult because they're the Arena Commission's issues. You know, we talk about whether we're going to talk about these things and compromise our strategy. Well, it's not our strategy yet. It's the Arena Commission's strategy. And we've also heard discussions, well, we need to answer people who call us. But if we're meeting an executive session, we're not supposed to be providing those answers to people that call us. So this, I think, is complicated by the structure and the very existence of the Arena Commission. So I think some of those points directed at the manager can be unfair. Now, having said, I called the manager about this myself. I said, you can't be letting things be released to the media that the council doesn't have. It's one thing for it to be an executive session discussion with the Arena Commission, and that is probably where it belongs. But once the press has it, we certainly have a right to have it, and I said that to the city manager. I called him as much as any of the other people sitting here did. So, but I think overall, again, I don't see a perceptible difference. If anything, I see some improvements. I view an email here and there as an improvement over what we had in the past. It's helpful to get that information. If I have a question about that, you can follow up with a call. And I will say this about this city manager and the other two that were serving here when I was a city manager. Even though calls were not initiated frequently, they were always returned. I mean, every city manager would always return a call, and I think that's true of this manager too. So, you know, I'm going to vote against this, not because I don't think there's room for improvement, but because I think it's pretty good the way it is.
Any other discussion? Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to vote against it also, in very similar vein as Councilor Martin, in that there's always room for improvement in everything. And in fact, I think in one of the reviews of the city manager, I mentioned the one thing that I would like to see improved is communication. But I think that, you know, the council has to respect the fact that, and it's been brought up, that, you know, the manager has 9 people to keep informed. And we're expecting, or it sounds like we're expecting now for him to read through the agenda and determine what is important to each one of us, because subjective, you know, I read the lease for Suffolk Street and I didn't have a problem with it. Someone else might have. But I think if you go through each agenda now and say, you know, we should have all the answers done, the questions answered and discussion done before we get here is not fair. I don't think there's possibly going to be time for the manager or his assistants or anybody else to be able to control that and make phone calls and constantly keep people up to speed to the point where we're not saying, listen, don't call me. I don't have, you know, it's not my decision, it's your decision. And some things aren't done by the manager. They're done by department heads. You know, I think that there's 2 key things here. It can improve, obviously. It can improve with us. It can improve with the delegation. But I think it's a two-way street. If we get the agenda, we get them Friday afternoon, Friday evening at home. If we have a question, I know I have time to call. If I have a question, if I don't understand something, if I'm missing something, I contact the clerk, whomever. I think, you know, the key here is that, I think Councilor Lenzi mentioned it, you know, that if there's going to be a partnership, or if we're going to work together, we have to truly work together. That means if I have a question, I call. I don't mind getting emails, because if I don't have a question on the email, I don't waste the 5-10 minutes on the phone. And not to say talking to you is a waste, but I would prefer to get the information and decide if I need a follow-up. But Councilor Lenzi would rather have a phone call. Now we're getting into how does each person want to be informed, and I think it can make it difficult. You know, maybe make a list, but I think that the key here is that if we're going to work together, then we need to work together, and it has to be a two-way street. How are you supposed to know what rumor I heard today? How do I know what rumor you heard? It's communicating both ways. If I hear a rumor about something and I'm concerned, I'm going to send you an email, I'm going to give you a call. I think that, you know, there's got to be some onus on us. Board of Directors for a corporation is charged with doing some work and not having everything brought to them. If you have questions, your role is to ask the questions, you know, and get the information. Again, there's always room for improvement, but I think that you know, the intent of the motion, if it's to get better communication, better lines of communication, you know, I'm all for that. But I think that this is going over that into areas that I just don't see how it can be controlled, and it's going to lead to finger pointing, and I don't think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Anyone, Councilor?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I think motion. I mean, we've been discussing this for a while. We get a lot of things on our plate, and you know, maybe it's a two-way street. Sometimes, you know, I would like some information on some things. I think probably the spinners issue, Mr. Manager, was probably the one that caught us all off guard a little bit, or maybe the arena. I do get emails from you. I like emails because you can get them BlackBerry and the Fly. Other folks like phone calls. I don't expect you to call me, or 9 of us, but you know, maybe it is sort of reading the pulse of individual counselors that would like a phone call every once in a while. So improve communication or continue communication, whatever the case may be. Shouldn't be an up or down vote. I think we're all in this together, and maybe all the issues that are coming to the forefront, we're all feeling stressed and pressured, and want to do the best for our constituents and have as many answers as we can for them, and you know, getting that information from you. So, you know, two-way street, absolutely. And so voting up or down, I think we all made the point that we all want to work together and just, you know, like I said, different people want different information on certain things, and, you know, whether it's phone, email, text, well, we can't text, but whatever it takes, you know, let's get the job done.
Councilor Lindsay, we're going to wrap this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I want to blow this up to something that was not meant to be. Improved communications, I think, is very straightforward, and the manager says, I think I can do a better job communicating. That's fine. That's fine with me. And I don't want to be misunderstood either. I think that when I said we're compromising our position, what I meant, or to be clear, is what we say here might compromise the Arena Commission's strategy. There's some things that we may compromise their strategy on that may not or should not be said here, and maybe should be said in an executive session. So sometimes I'm not perfectly clear, but that's what I meant. And the other thing is communication. I just read into, and I'm frustrated probably with the Songus Arena issue. Like I said, I want very badly for something to happen there that's beneficial to everybody in the city. And I guess when the manager said I sent an email, or I sent a message to the chancellor, I guess that's what I was getting at, that, you know, we need candid discussions, face-to-face discussions, in order to get this deal done. And an email doesn't do it for me. You know, it's just not going forward or making progress, because somebody could say, well, I sent him an email, you know, he responded, but I don't think that that's progress, that's all. So, I mean, I will support the motion for what it was, the purpose was, and that's just to improve communications, the manager, improve communications with the city council. Thank you.
Before we take a roll call vote, I just have a few words to say.